Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not quite sure why it's taking so long to load this time. I have a feeling I got a bunch of stuff running in the background, but we will prevail. This will also be one of the first casts I've had in a while that does not have an American patriotic title. As we are done with Assassin's Creed 3, we will be doing some Unity, but we're no longer mainlining it. And I have been looking forward to returning to Stellaris. I like this game a lot. This is probably also... There's a lot that I've gotten... Like, I know the intention of this one was to sort of show people, hello, Elsie, how are you doing? I think you're the first one in tonight. I think this is, like, in terms of the games that I've played, it really feels like this is the one where I've learned the most, where I how do I put it? Like, between starting the game to where I am now in the cast, like, I've learned some things about the game. I now actually have a preferred style to play as, which is funny because my intention is to do something completely different next time I play. But we'll move on. I'm a little concerned about this 70. I had a feeling our military was a little weaker than that, but we'll see where we are. So at the last time we played this, we went to war with our neighbors with the intention of vassalizing them. We definitely wound up in a pickle, and in the sense that they had a pretty hearty navy ready to catch us. You're fine, just woke up, so you need to head for work, and you'll come back in an hour and a half or so. Oh, great! So I'll finish recapping everything that happened, and you'll be there in time to actually watch us start. I'm not very good at starting promptly, Elsie, but that sounds great. I hope you have a good day at work and a safe trip. We will definitely we'll see you one way or another. All right, so one of our allies are the Hanmur Interstellar Nation, which I believe now has a larger navy than it. Oh my god. That's very interesting. So even in our diminished form, this huge empire that we're beside is larger than us. Let's just take a quick look at where we are after sort of clubbing our neighbors over the head. We'll do relative power. So the Otaga Union has sort of rebuilt, or has become a little bit of a threat. Everybody else, we're at equivalency, and this is when we're at half strength, so this is encouraging. It's also worth mentioning that we've got a lot of naval capacity sort of sitting down because we've been spending resources on this war. So I have a couple of ideas about how we're going to try and close this off. One question I am curious about, though, is I want to know population-wise where we stack up. So we've got 181. All right. So we're in good shape. And the nice thing about this is the Royal Yanari domains are fairly sizable. So once we conquer them, we will be in some good shape. So, as always, especially after, like, we had a really active week. It's the same thing that we have done in the past, right? Is that we guarantee a Monday stream of a Paradox Grand Strategy game, and currently that game will always be Stellaris. And yet, you know, I sometimes say, well, it feels like we've had a lot go on. It's mostly just because I've been streaming the whole week. My hope has always been to do more days of Stellaris if I can, but the reality of the situation has been that I just don't have the time to pull that off. So that may change, and I'm working on a couple of other things sort of in the background to try and do some other styles of cast. But we'll see what we can do. For now, we'll focus on today's stream. So our goal here is to get. So we want to get vassalization. This is what our stated goal was about. They'll accept a white piece. They will not accept vassalization. It's currently negative 67. So the idea here is that I need to. So the length of the war will start decreasing that score. So like the way everything is working right now, if I had 0 war score and our navies were about equal size, what I would be looking at here would be, I think, negative 114. Which means there's nothing that my war score could do to improve that. Realistically, I'm looking at, I'll say one way of looking at this would be like a war score of 47, which is that my actions in the war have earned me a certain amount, and then the strength of my navy has earned me something. And we paid a lot in our navy in order to accomplish what we've done. So the thing I need to worry about right now is how do I make sure these sacrifices weren't in vain, basically? So right now I've got a science ship, which is giving me some pretty important intelligence. It's telling me that there is a wormhole station here, and that there is currently a science ship, and it looks like a constructor probably building a warp gate, which means that if I can. I want to be able to take a ship and take that out pretty soon. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to take my science ships off of patrol, basically, and I'm going to put them in the enemy systems so that I can get some intelligence in terms of what they are up to. What I want to prioritize are taking out space stations, if I can. Oh my. I'm going to wait till he's in here before I start saying things. I want to make sure that any space stations are being halted, and I want to make sure that our invasion fleets are safe. Hello, everybody from Johnny Big Time's channel, or should I say Johnny Break Time, or more realistically, Johnny Break Dance. How is Dragon Age treating you, my friend? I have this really bad habit now of like stopping by, hearing a hello from you, saying something inane. Like, I think one of the problems that I have with Johnny's Cast right now is that my persona in Twitch channels is very different from my... is that Ernest? That is. I've always, like... The persona always has this trade-off, right? Which is every once in a while I say something kind of sweet. And like, unfortunately, either because I'm like tired or because I get pulled away from something like that, like I'll come in, I'll just be a pest in Johnny's channel and like walk out. So it's really surprising that he is as nice to me as he is. Like, he would be completely justified in just telling me to F off or like muting me in his channel or that. But if you guys didn't check it out, Outstar Walker had this kind of show streamers, you love them sort of a thing on her channel, and she had a couple recommendations. There were quite a few that I wanted to do that for, actually. But when it came down to it, I chose to write up on Johnny Big Time, who, again, it cannot be said enough, very consistently delivers a really high quality broadcast. He is somebody who knows how to entertain. I think he really understands how Twitch works and what makes it fun to watch. And he's been doing these great franchise playthroughs lately. I've had a lot of fun watching him. I hope you guys have as well. And basically, he has been going through. He's been going through Dragon Age most recently. But he'll be going through a few different games and just sort of exploring the games. They're ones that I think people really love them, and they have a good idea about, you know, basically what they're about, right? I think we just knock out as many Corvettes as we can at this point. So there's no surprises in terms of like what titles are coming in there. It's not like he's going for really obscure titles, and yet again, it's pure joy every time I'm watching him. Whether he's doing stuff that's well-trodden ground, or whether he is, he's trying something totally brand new to himself. He's always consistently entertaining. He's always got something to say. He did something really special for me. Jesse Quill put together a group of people to play some board games for my birthday. Normally, I don't do that much for my birthday. It's not that big of a deal for me, and I have had a lot of trouble getting Secret Hitler together, which is the first board game that we played. And like, I'd more or less given up on being able to play this game with anyone, which is a shame because I think it's one that would stream really well. But Johnny came in, and while I had something of an expectation that like it would sort of be like a laugh a minute with everybody, and it turns out everybody's a little competitive, so there was lots of like moments of silence as everybody's getting really tense. Johnny not only brought himself, which is a joy to behold on its own, but he came with a great attitude, and he did me a tremendous favor of giving up some of his time on my birthday, which meant a lot. So he's a great guy. I do strongly encourage you to check out his channel. Again, the majority of people who are watching right now are going to be watching from him, but I hope that gives you an idea of the person that you're watching. It's also worth mentioning that Johnny has this game, and we've sort of been setting up to play. Like, we did one sort of training round, but I don't know whether or not we'll co-cast it, or if I'll just convince Johnny to do it solo or whatever. But as long as he enjoys the game, I am definitely committed to doing my part and making sure that we get him in some Stellaris. I actually had an idea that if we do something that doesn't have to be co-op, I have a race idea, which I think is a really cute one. It's like the opposite of me as a race. What else was I going to say? Oh yeah, and I don't know if I'm giving away all the secrets, Johnny Big Time, but Johnny and I have talked about doing Grand Theft Auto 5 at some point. So if you guys want to know what I'm doing in the future, I'll do strategy, and I'll do big popular games too. All right, so what the hell am I doing with all of these ships? I'm moving the construction ship. Now the risk here is that I'm taking some fragile ships and I'm putting them in the heart of enemy territory. The reason why I'm doing this is I want to get some ideas in terms of whether or not any naval yards are being constructed, or if there's a rival navy. I am not making enough minerals per turn to really be able to justify letting them rebuild their navy. So I'm going to have a small break right now while I repair the fleet, and then we've got about 800 fleet power coming into that. So we should be able to take out a why can I not talk? We should be able to take out a spaceport, but we wouldn't necessarily be able to take out a spaceport and sort of an equivalent fleet. So Next thing I'm going to do, I've now taken my transport fleet. So one of the reasons why I'm bringing the ships over to Yump and Kelsim is I'm also going to try and tick up my my war score by invading these planets. So I don't think I have any intelligence on Yump. So it doesn't tell me what their garrisons are, unfortunately. We'll get that as soon as we're inside. But in this case, I'm going to do something that's very risky, and that's to take these transport fleets basically naked and immediately move into the orbit. The challenge here is that I don't have any fleets that will I don't have any fleets that will actually be able to do some bombardment, so this might be reckless. But in this case, I want to at least get them in play. And I think we'll hold off a little bit. I do want to assign a general when I can, but we're going to hold off on that for now. In the meantime, I think we're just going to focus on making war. So again, basically all of our production, all of our science is being put on hold specifically to prosecute this war. But the payoff will be that if we can take some planets easily, we're going to be well ahead of the game in terms of getting our war demands. What would be best above all would be if we could just take the capital, where we definitely have their we definitely have it exposed, but we're a little short on power. Actually, you know what? It might be an idea that we just strike for the heart. Hopefully in the time it takes these guys to get repaired. Alright, 5th Strike Force has got to join. Actually, you know what? These are all fresh, so we're gonna put them straight towards the target. So Johnny, I guess you haven't had a chance to play any Stellaris since we've played most recently, have we? Recruitment of armies has been completed on Oros. Oh, I forgot that we had one more, so this will be pretty easy to take care of, though. So this is the construction ship that I was going to be getting. You haven't got to play. Okay, sounds good. I should get a read from you at some point in terms of how interested you are in picking up the game, because I know there's a ton of stuff that you've I know there's a ton of stuff that you can do, and in the end, like, as I always say in this, oh, my bad. The galaxy presents enough threats without having to worry about a war between the Mishar Cooperative and the Spuxlack Alliance of States. We suggest entering into a non-aggression pact to mutually secure peace. Well, I definitely don't want to be taking on any fights right now, and they are pretty cute starfish. Equivalent fleet power, which means they're probably not that good. But honestly, these guys have the same ideology as me. They're not in an immediately they're not in a spot where I want to attack. So I think this this makes sense to do this alliance. How you doing, MC? All right. As you can see, this is also where those this is where the oh, everything is repaired, so we are going to swoop down with dramatic music playing. Alright, so there's something in this system. So basically everything's repaired. That's where we need it to be. We're all going to close in on this area. Again, the upgrades to sensors was really paying off when it comes down to limiting my opponent's ability to move their fleets. All right, these guys are stuck. So I think we're going to take them on the same journey. What we really want to do here is just take down as many wormhole drives as we can and strangle their ability to maneuver between systems. So this is the sort of stuff that we need to put an end to, because you can be pretty certain that there's going to be something nasty waiting for us on Baranik. All right. Let's see the damage. So it's a 1.1k. Interesting. So they have no fleets. What we need to do now then is, as tempting as it is to take Jaunus, there's nothing. They have no ability to create fleets at the moment. So if I can eliminate their... All right, so they got the first Star Hunters, which I need to be careful for. But if I'm able to take out their ability to generate ships by taking out this spaceport, this is a pretty big win. The other thing I'm a little curious about is taking their capital right away. Okay, so we've got an inactive building, can't be avoided there. Our trade treaty with the Otaga Union has timed out, research agreements have gone. I think I'm going to reevaluate these after the war, which is not a great strategy. But I kind of want to keep a really close eye on how I'm treating this. One potential thing that I could do would be to... Oh, shit. These things are taking the safe route. These guys are probably going to get taken out. Oh, looks like they're going to go defend, so... So something's generating those ships for sure. It'd be nice if I could just take them on, but realistically, we're gonna have to wait.
Hostile station engaged.
So again, the point here is basically to limit their mobility. These guys, unfortunately, are going to lose. But we can take a quick look at what they're armed with. So they've got space torpedoes and ion disruptors. So this is going to do some pretty heavy damage on me in the end. That's not so good. But it's only 300 power. So realistically, they've got about 400 plus the 1k. So what I can probably do is turn this around on them. So I've got the 1.7 occupied right now. These guys on their own can put some hurt on that fleet, so they'll be safe. I think It's going to be a bit of a gamble, but I think I'm going to switch this up, and I'm going to take on the...
Fleet destroyed.
I'm going to take on the capital right away. I'm going to... Basically, it's going to force them to engage me or...
Construction complete.
Or lose. This is maybe not the best thing to do, just these long convoys of single ships, but I do kind of want to split everything out. And
Research complete.
all right, so we've got a change in ship upkeep. As always, whenever we're picking research, we always make the decision in terms of what we give up in order to get. Xenozoo is actually a pretty important one for me because we've got some unworked Xenozoo tiles right now. Other alternatives, Biolab. Now, realistically, we're not anywhere near our capacity for production. And then there's Frontier Clinic. It's because it's only growth. It's not the biggest thing for me right now. So I think what we'll do is we'll go for the Xenozoo. As much as I would love to get the regenerative hull tissue, 198 months is just simply not worth it. So next thing that we should be doing is we should be spending some money. So let's just go to all my my ships. So we've got 17 destroyers, 15 corvettes, 5 destroyers. Surely there is a way for me to see my entire military. Maybe not. Okay, so these are all corvettes. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we've got 7 corvettes, 2 destroyers, 8 corvettes, 3 destroyers, 16 corvettes, 8 destroyers, 31 corvettes, and I don't remember how many. I think we're just going to go for corvettes for the rest of this. So... oh God. Again, on their own, they're not going to do a whole lot, but... all right, now these guys are actually going to head straight towards this wormhole at the capital. And that's because these guys are strong enough to take on the other fleet. These guys are strong enough to take on the fleet on their own, but they won't... you can, but I haven't seen... oop. Yeah, so I haven't watched Game of Thrones since about Season 3. So I think we can... I mean, the only thing that I'll say... alright, we lost another fleet. Oh yeah, they're just gobbling them all up. That's a pity. So yeah, the only thing I can say about Game of Thrones, I mean, I'm happy to talk about, you know, what's in the air. Obviously, it's a show that people really like. It's a show that, that people enjoy talking about, and I don't see much point in sort of stepping on people's ability to, you know, to enjoy it and participate. But with that in mind, like I don't have anything to add to it. It's not really about the, like what the stream is about. So, our Chancellor's reign has come to an end with their election campaign promises unfulfilled. So this is because they were old. Again, there's 2 challenges I face in, there's a friendly fleet here. They'd better be running away. There's a couple of challenges that I run into on this, which is one, I personally am not very good at sort of articulating what I'm doing during combat in this game. And then on top of that, where are my... If I've lost my transport ships... No, I'm safe. Yes, there's another fleet showing. These guys are going to get pretty strong pretty fast. I'm not quite sure why I can't unite this fleet, but we'll take out the wormhole first. Yeah, so basically the challenge that I'm facing right now is my goal at the moment is just, okay, go kill that thing, right? Point at that thing and fire the weapons. And I talked a little bit about putting some of my civilian ships in the area. Jesse Quill, thank you very much for that, host. I talked a bit about trying to put the civilian ships in a place where I can see what's going on. And that generally paid off. Okay, so we know we've got 350 here. They're at 81% health. Yeah, they're all there, so it's 467 fleet. I'm thinking we swing for the fences on this one. Once we take out this wormhole, we go to Baranik. We take out the last station, and then we invade their capital. So one of the best things I can say, guys, is if you have any questions about the game, please speak up. I need to get a little more entertaining on this game, I think. So, wait, that's a research station. That doesn't make any sense to attack. So if you want to know more about what's going on, please let me know. But like I said, the strategy here is we paid a lot in our navy to take down their stations. They have one last place which will be able to sort of generate enemies. So they've got about a 400 strength fleet floating around. There's going to be another 108 strength joining them, and this thing is just going to keep pumping out ships. So I have to deal with it at some point. And so what my intention will be is I'm going to knock down their ability to move. That's a pretty important one. And then following that, I'm going to head back to their capital. I'm going to invade that, and then we're just going to continue mopping up. I mean, hopefully by then we'll have a little bit more to report. So guys, it's also worth mentioning Jesse Quill. All right, Isabella Fabrini has been elected the first citizen of the Mishar Cooperative. See the situation log for their mandate. More importantly, I don't know what they were before. So most important question, I do still have an admiral. Most likely they were a governor. Yeah, so I'll worry about governors for these planets after the war. We're a little short on influence at the moment, so. And their mandate is orbital research. Well, I think we'll probably be able to do something with that.
Construction complete.
All right, the second strike force is engaging. Let's get a good view of this. Think of these things as the Mass Effect relays. And looks like there is some more fleet combat. Oh yeah, they're gonna... What's going on with all of these? I'm being very careless in how I'm handling this, so we're actually gonna slightly adjust our tactics. We're going to double back because these guys are now a direct threat to my... troop transports. So if we can, I'd like everyone to merge. That's what I was hoping to avoid. So we'll see if we can retreat. 3, 2, 1. Get out of there. This is the cost of having those civilian fleets. All right, so clearly this convoy system isn't working very well, so we're just going to smack everything into... All right, you guys merge. 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 And I want to see where they're going. Okay, so there's a 108 strength fleet in that area right now. It's a little... You know what? They're probably running away. So if they successfully run, we're just going to go straight for Baranek. Yeah. Oh, looks like they headed straight. Okay, well, you know what? It's going to get really messy on this one, but we have the brute force for it, so I think it makes just as much sense to jump in and terminate this, because otherwise it's just going to be a steady stream of ships that are coming out. Interesting. I think they're probably going to be heading to help their buddies as well. So if we can catch them out before they get to their space station, that's good news for us. I think we lose that race though, so I think in this case let's try and tempt fate. The worst thing that happens is they join the fight. Yeah, I think we'd make a beeline for them. Because if we can take them... no, they lost their nerve. Alright. Good news for us. They're probably going to be causing some problems for the Acuity, so... yeah, so they wound up at Spica. Yeah, so in this case, we use basically the overwhelming force to crush this. Even if their 600 come in, it's going to be too late for them to do anything about this. So the one thing that sucks about taking on this construction right away is that we're going to lose a lot of corvettes to this stream of missiles that come in. This is the biggest worry that I have about taking on a spaceport. But as you can see, we also intercept some of these. So there's going to be some damage, and it's gonna suck. We're definitely going to lose some ships. But the important thing is that we're going to get what we're setting out for, which is to eliminate their ability to build ships. And what we should probably do at that point is I'm not at all comfortable with where these guys are sitting. Unfortunately, we're kind of committed to it, so... But as soon as we take this thing down, I want our guys back on the. I want our guys back in that capital. Sorry, I know you didn't get to see the destruction of that. Well, you know what? We can see it now. In slow motion. Oh, but while we do that, priorities. Merge the fleets. Send them in orbit to the capital. Now we can enjoy. And I would be tempted to kill the hyperlane, or the wormhole generator, but like, to what end, right? We're at a point where we don't need to worry about them anymore. Okay, so that's our construction ship. I'm gonna be a little ballsy and do a research project over here. So we lost 12 corvettes in that. And I said I was going to hire a general, so ideally somebody young and, lower army upkeep. But, I mean, a 29-year-old who's got Glory Seeker, army morale and army damage is just too good to pass up. So now, how robots get morale, I am not 100% sure, but all right. Oh, they're engaging the science ship, so we can speed that up because this will be a very short fight. All right, this is a little frightening to do. It's only 110 in terms of fleet strength. That's protecting my main invasion force. Also, I want to take a quick look. So yeah, we'll be able to sweep these guys aside. But this is one of the most dangerous points of the war right now, because until I have some guys to back up this power, this as a military power. Sorry. Unless I have some military power to back up these armies, is what I want to say. These are the transport fleets are notoriously weak. And if I wanted to beat me, I would have absolutely punished the fact that I was sitting on these things, doing nothing. In the meantime, I think as much as I would love to do, oh no, we've only agreed to light ground support, so I have to live with being a little bit of a pacifist. Okay, so we've got construction complete. I think in this case here, we're just going to keep churning out corvettes until we're at our cap, and then we can maybe even out the numbers later. There is a rumor that apparently just corvette spam is the way to play Stellaris. I don't know if this is still the case, but I'll be honest with you, I haven't put a lot of thought into my fleet composition. I hope this isn't too boring for you guys in terms of the combat, but again, the idea here was and we did this in the previous game. All right, this is going to get interesting, but I think we'll be able to take them on. So the best scenario for us is if we can get our guys to, all right, so this is going to suck for this, for these corvettes. Oh, looks like they are wimping out. Can we stop them? We cannot. So we are going to pile onto their capital and make them pay for being cowardly. And again, we're a little bit weak on our fleet strength. I'm living with this because we can take their capital, and after that, it's basically all the dominoes fall. Oh boy. You should be a lot more scared than you are right now. And then as soon as we destroy their defenses on their capital, we are heading over here because they're building another spaceport. I really don't want you to do that. Oh, looks like they're wussing out. I didn't appreciate how fast wormholes worked. All right. This is going to be a problem. They are probably going to want to take these guys on. They wind down in 4 days. Let's see if they can make it out. 3, 2, 1. Whoo. Anybody else doing that bold bold path? All right, so the way that this thing works here, you can see all of my ships nicely lined up for a good old round of bombing planets. Again, gorgeous looking game. Let's see if we can get some night shots of this. So on the surface, we've got planetary fortifications. These are going to tick down as my fleets bombard the planet. We've got light. If I wanted to speed things up, I would change my stance to something a little more aggressive. The catch is that you can also potentially lose. Oh, good news for me. Run away, little buddy. We'll see if you can retreat, but I don't hold a lot of hope for these guys. If we're lucky, they will be occupied long enough for us to catch them and kill them, though. All right, so we've got our Xeno Zoo. Empire Capital Complex is very tempting, save for the fact that it costs so much. So in this case, we'll do centralized command. Gives us a military academy. That's about it, but it only takes 14 months to research. So in this case, notice we have held off on the planetary bombardment. The idea here is that the opportunity to take out their main force is so good that I'm willing to hold off. Because the thing here is, right, not only am I going to do this, actually, I really shouldn't risk these fleets anymore. Well,
Situation log updated.
new factions have recently been gaining traction in the internal political landscape of the Mishar Cooperative, led by scientist Martin Morris. They call themselves Veterans for Victory Movement. Speaking of which, yeah, I think we're going to keep with that. So the original thought was I should keep an eye on this. You know what? I hate that I'm doing this, but I am going to go and hit Zert. I'm going to move these transport fleets off to the side. So what's going to be happening here is the planetary fortifications are going to be building up. But the idea here, this is the same logic from before, which is I want to take down their ability to defend themselves. So if I can take out this spaceport before it's finished, That means that I don't have to fight a 1k strength opponent. So yeah, these are all science labs that are being produced. I'm okay with that.
Alien spaceport engaged.
So basically all that we're doing here, I mean, so the nice thing too is that we're going to be killing some resources for them as well. So even if they were able to build one of these, I know it hurts the eyes, but god damn, that's a beautiful shot. Basically, this is just to make sure that one, I don't need to take on something strong, and then two, this is going to prevent them from being able to defend themselves. So this planet that I start bombarding again is just going to be totally open for me to cause mischief on. Oh, actually, I had other plans. So we're going to knock out the wormhole, then go back to bombarding Yan. You can see that the planetary fortifications are almost completely back. These guys are going to do a research project, and I think we will let... And then what I think I'm going to do with this 644, I'm actually going to get them to do... I think I'm going to get them to hop on all of these all of these wormholes that keep popping up. And then I'm going to do a patrol of these planets just to make sure that nothing scary is being built. And as usual, we just keep churning out Corvettes until we're back where we want to be. We are receiving transmission from an independent space station of the Curator Sigma Enclave. They appear to have successfully translated our language. Well met, explorers. You are speaking to the Curator Sigma Enclave. Perhaps you are already familiar with the tenets of our ancient order. Like our esteemed colleagues in the other Curator Enclaves, we are willing to trade provided that you can meet our rates. Well met. Not quite ready to take these guys on in terms of gaining stuff, but while we are at it, let's just get a quick idea of what our production is. I think these guys are already going to have some... Yeah, so we've got capacity overload. Let's get some production targets so we can produce some more minerals. I'm only going to do one at a time because I'm not 100% sure how I want to structure the the society yet. So there might be some new commanders that I want to put in different places. Say goodbye to the Mass Effect relay. So then we're going to go back to bombing the hell out of a planet. Oh, and looks like they are getting... Yeah. Funny you don't want to continue with that project. What else are we looking at here? So they are trying to build a science station. I think it would still be a good idea to take that down if I can. So let's knock that out, then knock this out. And I'm going to do this the other way around from last time. Just because I have a feeling that this is the one that's most likely to have generated another threat. The one thing I don't like about this is, okay, they're really determined to build that spaceport. I might let them have it just so I can what are you doing? Oh, well that wasn't very smart of them.
Situation log updated.
Admiral, oh my god, Bekizwe Mabjindu has leveled up and gained the trait Gale Speed. Leveled upping, so Gale Speed, Evasion, Sublight Speed. Oh my god, this guy is an amazing admiral now. Okay, so we are going to bomb the hell out of this planet. Let's change the structure, because I see what game they're playing now. So we are going to change this mission again. We're going to take out that... Let's try that again. So take this thing out. Priority number 2 will be to take this thing out. We've got the first strike force, which is now going to become my new scout. Again, the strongest they were when I was sort of aware of their shenanigans was 600, so I'd be surprised if they've been able to sneak away some more than that. Guys want to watch the bombing? It's better if I have the fleet sitting menacingly in the background. So for those of you who are interested, especially the creative ones among you... Oh. Never mind. There is at the Paradox Extra website, or the YouTube channel rather, there is a short film competition going on. And actually, Jess, I had an idea I think you might really enjoy, which I would like to do with you if you are so inclined. But you've already done a lot for me, creative-wise, so we can talk about this later, maybe. I feel like I'm gonna do the plant. Well, this doesn't do a lot for me, but it is a purple one, and it's inexpensive. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to change the... So I'm going to take the guy who gets a plus 10% to research. I'm going to put him on the flesh is weak, because that's a somewhat high priority. That's blocking my my engineering goals right now. And I don't have a high priority on this thing, so this sort of makes the most sense. I can type it to you too, but... so I recommend going to the Paradox Extra YouTube channel, but it has to be a 1-minute short film about discovery. Actually, I'm gonna DM this to you really quick, Jess. So keep in mind, just the theme for that idea is discovery, and I think the reveal at the end is a fun one. Curiously, they don't want to build this anymore. All right. Looks like they just want to be big babies about it. Sorry about the dead silence while I was typing there, but I think you guys will be pleasantly surprised by the idea when it becomes real. All right, so we're about halfway down on the planetary fortifications. The nice thing here, of course, is they don't have any means of defending themselves, and I don't have any pressing needs in terms of their... Oh! And we've hit the next stage of our revolution. So basically, we're... the whole point, again, we were willing to sacrifice a lot in terms of fleet power in order to achieve this, but the whole idea here was to render them incapable of defending themselves. And then the next step would be... the next step is to basically be able to take my time, have these big stacks that sort of go planet to planet rather than trying to take it all at once. A cybernetic revolution. The cybernetic conversion process has been completed. All of our citizens have now been equipped with neural implants and basic cybernetic suites. The infrastructure is also in place to gradually modify any new citizens that are born within our nation so that they can experience all the benefits of technology from an early age. Henceforth, our species shall be known as post-Mishars. It is the dawn of a new era. So if you guys want the idea of what's going on, is, you know, we're slowly starting to erode this idea of kind of the space communists, where we're now sort of embarking on... I mean, so obviously we're becoming more militaristic than what our original setup would sort of imply. We are fusing with our technology. And... do I have any opportunities to research this? Yes, I do. And I mean, if you want to think about it like a terrifying thought, imagine that these are the people, you know, while they're doing that final conversion, they've turned their sights on your nicely pacifistic society, just as they're becoming cyborgs. And our research speed goes up by 5%, and our lifespan goes up by 40 years. So, this is how the Borg started, guys. I've never seen Star Wars, but this is how the Borg started. All right, so this is going to be the first example that we have of... This is going to be the first example that we have of land combat. So we've already got a... so he's now a cyborg glory seeker. I'm going to wait until the planetary fortifications are down to 0, just because, again, we don't want to take any chances on this. And in terms of... So this is a purely robotic assault army. Their damage is pretty good. They do cost energy instead of minerals. But these are going to be taking on some droids, which are equivalent, and some militia, which are not. So we should be able to take these guys down pretty easily. So we're launching the attack. You see the drop pods come down.
Debris analyzed.
And away we go. It's not the most exciting thing to watch, I will admit, but... And in the meantime, I think we're going to go soften up another planet for invasion. All right, that one looks like it's on its way to being finished. So we're gonna turn around and cause some problems for them, and we're gonna take our research ship to do some work there. The Spalzlak Alliance of States would like a research agreement. I would love a research agreement, but I think I can get better with them. So let's communicate. What's interesting here is that, so this is the founder species. I don't know what the starfish are, though. So let's say research agreement for research agreement. Oh, interesting. Well, that's what I get for being greedy. I will be sure to take the offer next time. So as you can see here, there's basically a green ring that represents the health. The militia is just being utterly destroyed. Again, remember all of that stuff I said, and now it's an army of robots that comes onto your whole your home world. Yeah, so for those of you guys who like the starfish, this comes in the Utopia expansion. It's not a default option, and even so, the way that the DLC works, I know people complain a lot about Paradox DLC, and I am sometimes one of them. But one of the nice things about how they do DLC is you get, as long as the host has the DLC, you will be able to play that DLC. The exception is for the skin packs. Those you need to have the DLC for. So if you are particularly interested in having the starfish, you can get Utopia. Oh wait, no, it wasn't Utopia. It was Leviathans, the less expensive one. And yes, that's how I consider it. As with most things in life, I always read the menu right to left. So my civilian scouts don't make a lot of sense where they are anymore. So my construction ship should probably be moving somewhere I can get a view of Yump. My strike force is going to take care of the warp gate over here. These 3 planets are taken care of. In reality, I just really need to invade one more planet. So what's going to happen here is I'm going to occupy this planet for now. And then what we're going to do is we're going to move over and take on this planet when the time comes. Space communism creates warmongering cyborgs. Understandable evolution. I mean, we're not... what we're doing here is kind of a dick move, but the justification I have for this move, other than the fact that they had land that I wanted... where are these guys? So they are xenophobic pacifists. Oh, now they're materialists. I didn't think they were that before. But basically, they had land that I wanted, and they had closed their borders to us. They were rivals. And so in this case, we took the opportunity. And of course, the nice thing is we're going to be able to blob out more. If I can incorporate these guys into my I don't want to call it empire, but my civilization, so much the better. But it's not a requirement, let's say. Okay, that is a Danger Will Robinson moment. So we're gonna go knock that thing out. And it looks like we have secured ourselves from... well, they can't build a spaceport here. So at this point, we're just going to... It's basically just waiting for the war score to tick. So we just need one more successful invasion, and we should be good to enforce our demands. Unless... Yeah, so their acceptance right now is -7. As the war score kind of ticks, unemployment. Ah, damn it! I have not been paying attention at all. Okay. Well, this seems to be the way to go. Looks like people are pretty unhappy on my Gaia world. So, looks like they need a little law and order. This remaining fleet, I guess we can put onto just... So again, I'm assuming here that once we take one more planet, we'll be in good shape, but on the chance that something goes wrong, I'm just making sure that everything's kind of in shape. So the idea with this here is that I don't know if with vassalization you're able to ultimately incorporate them. As long as I can sort of keep my like boot on their neck, I'll be happy. If they get strong enough to start defending themselves, then there will be problems. Also, I want to see if there's any opportunities to build more droids.
Construction complete.
There will be one more. Then I can reevaluate my priorities. All right, spaceport's done, so we'll just churn out some more corvettes. What I should also be doing as well, for all of my planets, I should get some kind of like a defense force. Trade deal. They give me 1375 credits, and they want a research agreement.
Debris analyzed.
That's some good money, but I don't know if they have any technology I really want. So the Juven hegemony, they are inferior to me in every possible way. I don't see any reason to share. It's a tempting offer because I'm going to be able to go and turn around and use that money to... so I'll show you what I can use the money for. So we'll go to the Alpha Enclave, aid us in our research. 4,000. All right, well, that won't do. All right, you know what? I'm gonna go back to my tunnel vision on the wars, and then I can pick up the ashes of my civilization afterwards. All right, so here we will embark all the armies. This will probably cause a bunch of unrest. Sure enough, it did. Fortunately, I don't think they can take back the planet on their own. And if they can, I'm in deep trouble. I really want to know where these warp gates are coming from. I'm probably just missing out. I think it's been a while since I've been to either of these systems. I should do a quick patrol. I get this like sinking feeling that there's going to be just some spaceport waiting for me with like a 1,000 strength fleet or something. Rouge Light Girl, thank you very much for the host. How are you doing? Oh my god. Please destroy this thing as soon as humanly possible. You are dead if you don't successfully destroy it. A meh day. Well, hopefully we will turn it to a meh plus. Maybe even a meh plus plus. Anything in particular, Rouge Light Girl, or just that's the nature of the beast? I'm genuinely curious if they're going to be able to pull this off.
Tile blocker cleared. Research complete.
All right. Energy weapon damage is both inexpensive and feels like the best option for my guys right now. So this thing still keeps building as I'm going in. This is going to get really, really interesting because I'm pretty sure this thing's going to go online. Oh, nope, we're successfully... That's actually really neat. This is, I mean, so obviously the Star Wars analogy is... Oh, crap. Well, you guys are boned. Okay, so we're currently invading... There's a lot of stuff going on. So the real question is whether or not we want to continue this fight. Because the thing is if we successfully invade and we get what we need, suddenly we don't need to worry so much about Do you like that, chat? Suddenly we don't need to worry so much about taking out their spaceports. Drinking too much coffee and being sad. Oh, yeah, I'm really sorry to hear that, Rouge Lake Girl. Obviously, if you want to chat, let us know. Friendly people here. But sometimes just taking your mind off things is all you need. So I think self-aware logic is what we want to do here, just because it's relatively inexpensive. Ion Disruptor and all that's nice, but at this point I just kind of want to start filling in the gaps of things that I've missed out on. So let's take a quick look at the invasion. So yeah, these guys are just gonna stomp the enemy like before. So what I'm really interested in, I want to see roughly how this thing goes. One, because I get to show you slow motion laser beams, and two, because depending on how quickly all of this gets resolved, I may want to keep this up. Or I might want to keep this thing alive. Oh, Endors, we're now cyborgs. And we are about to overthrow the proletariat of this pacifist band. I am really tempted to do a retreat here. I should make a decision though, because I'm gonna lose some ships. You know what? We're gonna bank on finishing this war before they can build a fleet to defend themselves. And actually, to show my confidence, we're gonna move on to the next target for liberation.
Enemy planet secured.
Interest. Okay, yeah, we got our 88, so we can now vassalize them. We've won the war with the following demands. Vassalize. All right. So now we're going to have to take a look at where we stand with everything. So we've got some research that we can do. So let's get the Acuity to do the research here. Oh, sorry, not the Acuity, the Pathfinder. The Acuity, I think we'll start by investigating our... This is the funny thing, is we vassalize them, but apparently we don't have knowledge of their maps. Not that this is bad, because as we sort of investigate their planets, we get research. Okay, I need to make some decisions about what I do with my fleets. I think everybody should just go home. I've got this. Invasion's over. Got the victory. Finally, we can put this horrible bloodshed behind us. Finish the army recruitment. Okay, so now we're going to stop. We're going to take stock, and we're going to figure out what the next moves are now that we have sort of finished the war. So first thing we want to do is take a look at our... Oh, hello. We've got... Where are these guys? All right, so this is an example. This is something known as a stagnant ascendancy. So this is kind of like a great and powerful empire that sort of hit its peak. They don't really actively try to They don't really try to actively expand, but as you can see, they're overwhelming in every regard. Before you ask, no, we will not share our technology. Oop. It's just, sorry guys, I'm missing out on chat. So it's been I'm feeling like I'm really screwing up on the Stellaris cast, so please let me know if you feel the same. I can try and course correct. It's taken a little bit to get back in. So let's just take a look here. Well, thanks. Had a long day just listening to Chalk. Relax before bed. I don't even think I gave Jessie Quill a proper shout out tonight. She was doing, she's been continuing on with this game called Perception, if I'm not mistaken. But an absolute sweetheart. Again, she's the other one who I got to shout out on Outstar's thread. If you people didn't look at that thread, shame on you. And was the one who we talked about earlier in terms of setting up a really nice sort of birthday gathering for me, which I appreciated. Endor says, don't worry, Rouge Light Girl, after he gets done with them, it's going to be assimilate or die for the rest of us. Jessie Quill says, you're so down with bionic eyes and chip implants. Chip implants where, Jessie Quill? Rouge Light Girl needs a new spine. Jessie Quill would love a new spine. Endor is pretty much the same, just got out of a 2.5-hour meeting with some unreasonable human beings. You're deciding if ice cream or a drink is more called for. To be honest, an entire new set of bones. Jessie Quill says an alcoholic milkshake is an option. She's referring to a little something we found in Ottawa, which was a lot of fun to go to. And Jess had, 5 or 6 spiked milkshakes, and then she's got a lampshade on her head. But what can I say? Takes all kinds. And I don't know what kind of whiskey was in that. Okay, so it's saying that these Arctic worlds are... it's saying that these Arctic worlds can be colonized. I am going to assume that that is because we have our vassal. And they're a disloyal vassal, so I'm going to need to keep an eye on them. Of all disgraces to befall the royal Yanari domain, serving under a filthy beast is by far the worst. So I don't want to give them the technology to take me out. Yeah, you know what? This is just going to have to resolve itself. So border friction, xenophobia, was at war. So it's really the border friction that seems to be causing the problems. But yeah, until... All right, so yeah, it's just by time. So once, basically after 100 years, we'll be able to incorporate them. I don't know the caloric content of these things, Jessica. I just thought it would be funny. Oh, you know what? It's probably because we're cyborgs that we get to colonize so many more planets. Oh my god, there's so many possibilities from this. Okay, so here's the thing, right? Our big goal at the start of this was to subjugate the royal Yanari domains. We've done that. So one, I need to get back to sort of getting my civilization back in order. That means right now building up my fleets. However, my spaceport is already sort of covering that. So what I probably want to be doing next is I want to be looking at my surfaces. And then I want to be looking at my my spaceports in these other areas. I also want to keep an eye out on my unrest, because while I don't think we have a lot to fear in terms of invasions, I do think that I've governed myself in such a way that people are going to be troublesome. The next thing I'm going to do is, because we've got some subject species and such, we're going to do a few different things inside here. Oh, all right, looks like there's only one subject species, so let's set the rights. So full citizenship, so decent living standards, we can do social welfare. I think let's try utopian abundance. This might come back to bite me, but... So we've got 212 right now. Wow, that's a lot. But I'm okay with that because that's also going to address some of my happiness issues. Yeah, full military service is fine. Colonization allowed. No population controls. And we can't do population controls because we are egalitarian. So unless we change our ethic, we're stuck with this. So this might come back to bite me because I'm spending a lot on satisfying the needs for my species. But in this case, I'm okay with that because of the happiness gains. And my hope here is that people are going to finally stop moving away from this planet. So like, let's even take, I think my Gaia world, I had my most unhappiness. You know, all of these people are fine now. So, all right, next thing I want to do is take a quick look at my my governments. So war philosophy, food stockpile. You know what? I feel like we can finally move another. You know, let's just do a large food stockpiling because we're definitely not in a growth point. I would love to do resettlement, but I have a feeling that's going to annoy some people. I'm okay with all of these. What I'm specifically looking for, though, are... here we go. So reform government. Nope. Only one more civic. Or sorry, we only have the 2 civic. And of course, I don't want to give up mining guilds, so... Alright. So next thing I want to do is take a quick look at my factions. Alright, so it looks like we want research treaties with 3 other empires. Let's take a look at the ones we're most friendly with. And we'll get that priority taken care of, because of course that's going to benefit me as well. So the Hulfir. Interestingly enough, equivalent fleet power, but not naval capacity. Let's do a research agreement for a long time. I'm curious if I can get away with monthly transfers. Yeah, they won't give me more than 1 a month. Let's just get a big old dump truck of money for our trouble. Okay, too much. Actually, you know what? This is going to be kind of clever. So we'll do an instant transfer of food. So the idea here is this is just going to bring me closer to the... you know what? I want real money. Diplomacy should be the cornerstone of all interstellar societies. The fact that Isabella Fabrini appreciates this is surely a sign of a wise leader. Alright, so we've got our first research agreement. I'm curious if it'll tell us in the species menu whether or not we have these things. So we've got a migration treaty. It says we have a trade deal, but it doesn't say what kind. Alright, these guys, yeah, I'm gonna have to give them something for this, so... Let's see if we can do some wheeling and dealing. Okay, they don't want energy credits. I want to give them minerals, so that's off the table. Who else likes me? A Hanmore. they're very agreeable. All right, they don't want to give up any minerals. They're okay giving up some energy, which is good news for me, because I tend to need it. Indoors, I might have to go pick some of that up tomorrow, not leaving the house again. Oh, are you talking about pecan ice cream? These guys used to be our enemies. Greetings to you, post-Mishar friends. How goes your research? Alright, so these guys are equivalent. I'm not quite sure I want to get too buddy-buddy with them. So long as I can... Ah, they don't want to share. Alright, I see where they're going with this. Research definitely needs to be pretty high up on my list. Oh god, these guys are pushovers. Hopefully, nope, they don't want to give up minerals. So I'm going to take as much as I can in energy. I wonder if I can get it some month. Yeah, they don't want to do monthly as well. Let's see if we can make up the most rest in food. No, don't want to give up food. I don't want their star charts though. Well, I guess I'm just giving up the store. All right, so we've gotten the first priority of keeping this group satisfied. I'll unpause for a little bit just so we can let those trade deals get through to... There should be a third coming. All right. So these guys are satisfied now. The Galactic Emancipation Forum, again, anti-autocratic, free movement, reproductive freedoms, and anti-caste, so we're okay there. Oh, you know what? I don't need to keep doing this. So next up are the National Stability Lobby. So they want solid liquidity. I need to have at least 3,000 energy stored away. Strategic resource acquisition, which we have. Strategic resource control, so we need to have 5 strategic resources. Basically, I think they're basically going to continue to demand more and more. Keep the peace. So, so we are currently not at peace. Traditional prosperity and nonviolence. Spending lives and resources on wars of aggression will greatly displease the National Stability Lobby. So they're not as angry as they used to be. But clearly we did do an aggressive war, and I intend to continue doing this. So they're just going to have to live with it. And then the Veterans for Victory movement, which is the smaller faction. So aggressive diplomacy, failing to allow for unrestricted warfare will displease the Veterans for Victory movement. Subjugation, conquering alien planets, or making other empires our subjects at war will please Veterans for Victory. Border expansion, constructing a frontier outpost to expand our territory will please the Veterans for Victory for a while. Local rivalry. Positioning ourselves as the rival of at least one neighboring empire will please the Veterans for Victory movement. Standing alone, so if we don't join a... So these are basically warmongers. It's not a surprise that they started doing this. Now, as far as my population, 8% are becoming pacifistic. That might be a problem. 63% are materialist, good, and then 24% egalitarian. I don't mind it if I lose this. Of course, we'll abandon our communist ways, but, you know... Everybody's got to grow up sometime, right? All right, next up. So at some point I'm going to want to start upgrading things on my home planet. Nobody's going to wind up doing that. Ipskelia Prime, I think it is time for us to consider handing that over to the AI. So it's probably actually going to be a big hit to our minerals and energy, but we'll see what happens. So again, I still want to sort of expand in terms of my available planets, and the fact that my my populations can actually inhabit some of these places is great. I'm not quite sure what's going to happen on... which planet was it? Was it Tiam? We definitely have one inside of our borders which was inhabited completely by droids. Looks like we still don't like desert worlds, though. Although apparently we can terraform them? Will that cost us? 2,000. Oh, we could terraform it even further. It would just cost us more. Interesting. But I don't want to piss off the prosperity guys, so... Alright, so in this case we're going to give up some more... We're going to give a little bit more to the sector. So in this case, we will go 1, 2... Again, the idea here is just to try and get the burden of running a lot of this stuff off of us. We're gonna... It's almost like a venture capital model of colonization. Like, we'll plant the seeds, we'll build up the planets where we can, and then we'll let the AI kind of take care of managing everything. So yeah, we're definitely taking a dip in terms of our minerals. I'm gonna work on that next. But for now, I'm gonna leave it at this. Okay. Next up, I want to start building some spaceports. So I think traditionally we've always gone for beam base, or no, actually I think we've gone for projectile defense. Let's see if that was true on Trappist. Yep. All right. Well, we'll continue. We'll continue with the tradition, and I think I'm going to spend all of my minerals to do this, just so I can say we're finally on track on this. Now, this is all going to mean that we're going to get some pretty big expansion in terms of our fleet cap soon. So I really do need to start thinking about how I'm composing my forces. What else do I want to do? I'm probably going to be constrained by minerals, but let's just take a look at what we can do with development right now. So the ideal scenario is going to be droids working the mineral tiles first. And you know what? We've got enough energy to keep us going for a bit. So I think I'm going to focus on minerals for the next little while. This should get cleared. I've got one too many droids. Okay, and then I'm going to have to unpause because I don't have any more resources. Next up, I should consider my governors. So I should pretty much always have a governor on my home planet. And we are also at a max for resources. So I think I'm going to take the opportunity to build, or to get some new governors going on here. Again, just taking a second to make sure that my sectors are where they need to be. I'm also going to increase the tax on my energy credits. This will still allow them to do some expansion, but at this point here, they are well past the... In this case, they've got more energy and more minerals than me. One thing I could do would be to drain the sector stockpile. That'll be 75% of their resources. which would go into my coffers. I'm not 100%... Now, you know what? They're not really using it right now, so we will. And now I get some real fun. So, let's... Okay, so we've got a surplus of 2 at the moment. So this is going to be a little bit of nerdy management that I'm getting done right now. But I'm finally going to deal with this problem I was having with not getting a whole lot done on my home planet. So currently surplus of 2. This is a good food tile. So we're going to have a surplus of 3. Okay, so it makes sense to... I mean, technically I don't need to upgrade the other one, but I might as well. I said we were going to prioritize minerals, so those are going to get dealt with next. Then energy to pay for all of this. And now we will upgrade our science. So this is a physics tile. We'll continue down that path. This is an engineering tile, similar idea. Biolab. Physics. So the key idea here is the reason I'm doing this right now is because, and this is an anything tile, so I want to see if maybe, I'm curious if I can replace this with something different. So I can build a military academy. I can build a planetary shield generator. All right. I mean, it is a little tempting, but I am going to tempt fate and not build this. I do think a military academy makes a lot of sense, though. Chocolate and whiskey do not mix. Sorry to hear it, Endor. Oh, Jetty said the same thing. Jumping Q, pretty new to Stellaris, and you're wondering what the benefits of sectors were. Jumping Q, first of all, welcome. May I compliment you on your excellent taste of game, and hopefully your excellent taste of stream, but I leave that for your judgment. This is probably one of the biggest confusions that people have in Stellaris. I'm going to give you something of a... It's going to be a pretty verbose answer, but I hope it's going to make this really clear, because I tend to notice this is one of the biggest points of confusion that people have. So the simplest thing that I can say, if you look at this horrible sort of like gray looking area on my systems, this is one big super sector I've made. Now, I'm not going to suggest to you that the way I have built my sectors is the optimal way, because I'm sort of learning this myself. But here are sort of the main dynamics behind how this works. You'll notice up here that there is a number of directly controlled colonized systems. Okay, so I've got 5 out of 7, and my base was 3. So when I started this game, I think we had like our capital Senvat, Stenlar, and Vega. I think were like, or no, that can't be right. Anyways, we had like 3. You can, I'm sure the videos are on YouTube or something like that. But basically, you can see that we have lots of opportunities for colonization, but we don't necessarily have like if we have a base of 3, we're not going to be able to take all of it. So first thing, this isn't a hard cap. If you want to colonize more than 3 systems, or in my case 7, you can just go ahead and do it, and what you're going to get are penalties to things like your energy credits and your minerals. Oh, and by the way, Whisper, that sounds fine. Sorry about that. I hope you have a good sleep. So basically, the first thing that I can say, there is a game mechanics reason for doing sectors, and there is a sort of an enjoyment reason for doing sectors. in sort of the lore or the ideas of Stellaris, it is that as big of a badass as you might be, you can't micromanage every last planet. So to give you an idea, I've got, it should say it somewhere in my species list. I'm currently controlling 14 planets. So why is it that I'm not going over this cap? Oh, thank you very much for the follow there, Jumping Q.
I would never want to belong to any club that would have someone like me for a member.
What I'm doing here is with a sector, you are saying is like, okay, I'm going to let the AI run this thing. There are some pretty granular rules that you can give the AI, but the idea of the sector is that it's going to be a subsection of your empire, which you no longer hold direct control over. So if we go to Fujao Prime, and I say it's like, oh, you know what, an energy grid would be really good here if I could, wait, why can't I afford it? Oh, I need planetary administration. It's like, okay, this seems like a good thing to build here. Okay, that's fine because I directly control that. Now, if I go over to Zif, which is in my sectors, you'll notice it's blue here. I click and I say, oh, you know what? I really want to turn this into a Xeno Zoo. Well, actually, they're already doing that. Oh, wait, no, I don't want the Xeno Zoo. Stop doing that. I can't because it's in my sector. So this is the AI taking care of it. The reason this is fun for people is that I'm currently pausing the game, and if you hang around for a while, you're going to notice I really like going into a lot of detail about how I play this game. So for me, it's okay to just pause the game and really figure things out. We just got finished with a big war, so I'm sort of rebuilding my empire and making sure everything is the way I want it to be. But the idea here is that it's probably not very fun when, even with 14, right? I don't want to just do like, oh God, here, I got to do all my systems again. Let's see. Oh God, which one was I going to, oh no, maybe that one, like that sort of thing. The way that I sort of handle sectors to make sure they do what I want them to do is I did sort of what I said before about sort of this venture capital model of colonization. So a great example would be I took Ipskylla. This is one that I colonized myself before, and you'll notice like this is completely built up. Like everything here is already in order. And then I gave it to the AI because in the end, the AI is not going to mess around with this too much. So the simplest thing for a sector is one, it's so that you can get things out of your hair, basically. But number two, it's a way of working around this fairly frustrating cap of the number of colonies that you can have. So if you want to manage your sector, what you can do is you can go to the planet and sector section. So you can set taxation. If I wanted the sector to grow a lot, I could not tax them. They'll be generating 149 energy credits and 351 minerals. Now notice I'm running massive deficits if I do that. And in the end, these are still subjects, right? So I don't want them to be generating more than the empire. So in this case, I actually have them on the highest tax rate. 75% of what they generate is going towards me. But the nice thing about a sector too, if you notice that you're building a whole lot of like platforms and stuff like that, like you're generating a lot of, let's say, mining stations and all of that, what you could do, and this is something they added recently in the patch, you can decide to tax energy and minerals differently. So if you notice that you are running into some deficits with energy, you can actually pass off some of your mining operations to a sector. Now they still need to pay, so like they have to have a surplus for energy. But again, the AI is going to try and find a way of making sure that it's profitable to mine. So in this case, like one of the things, sure, I'm giving up a lot of resources in order to allow them to do all of this this generation. But I also don't need to pay the cost of like running all of these mining operations. So the best way of thinking about this is it's a way of allowing you to expand out. If you've ever wondered why the AI is able to make something that looks like this, well, in reality, they conquered all that. But the reason why they're able to own all of this is because they've built up a number of sectors. And so the way that I kind of like to do it myself is I build up a planet, I give it over to the sector, and right now I've got 2 free ones. So what I'm going to be doing here is I'm going to be going to my spaceport and I'm going to be building a new colony ship. In this case, I'm going to put a post Mishar on it because I like my people. Only other thing I'll say, my habit with sectors has been to usually not tax them at all at the start. And that's just because I want to give them a nice, good base. And one thing that really paid off was they had something like 8,000 energy and like 6,000 minerals. So I spent 100 influence to drain 75% of their stockpile. That's why I've got so much here right now. And what I'm doing with that is I'm putting all of that back into the capital. And I'll do some similar things here. I'm going to build up all of my planets and such. But I think that's more or less what I have inside of here. But yeah, the best way of saying it is that sectors allow you to stop managing things yourself, and they're also a way of making sure that you can maybe either circumvent the colony limit or let the AI start taking care of some of your energy expenses and things like that. It's probably a longer explanation than was needed, but if you have any more questions on that, feel free to let me know. I should probably stop talking and just let you guide me with the parts that weren't clear. All right, so on Fuzhou Prime, again, I want to prioritize minerals for the droids, and then I want to start considering some of the other things I can get these citizens to do. So currently we are on a food shortage. Oh, thank you. It was a bloody good explanation. I do have a few questions though. Does the AI create fleets in a time of war for you? If they do, are they controllable by you and affect your own cap? Or are they AI controlled? If you sector a planet that isn't fully developed, will the AI auto-complete some of the buildings and upgrades? Or do they stagnate the development of the planet? Lastly, do you have to satiate their happiness, or do they kind of deal it with themselves? All excellent questions. So far as I can tell, the AI will not generate fleets for you. However, you can use spaceports that they own to make fleets. So for instance, we've got Tiom Prime. I could build a Corvette there. So in this case, I'm obviously not answering. No, that's jumping queue. That's what I'm here for. So the biggest thing that I can say is I don't think anybody watches me for my skill in the games that I play. But one thing that I seem to have sort of developed a little bit of an audience for, hey, Subject Panic. One thing I do seem to have developed a little bit of an audience for is the fact that I am very good. Well, not very, obviously I leave it to people to decide that, but I seem to have some capacity to explain the ideas in a game. And I'm able to sort of explain my thought process. So these are the things, these are the lifeblood of my stream questions. I'll do the rest of them in order. So, actually the AI fleets was, okay, so they don't create fleets, they don't, hence they don't control them. The bases that they build, and I believe they will build bases on their own, will improve your naval capacity, but again, it's up to you to build those ships. If you sector a planet that isn't fully developed, will the AI auto-complete some of the buildings and upgrades, or do they stagnate the development of the planet? That is actually up to you, believe it or not. So if we go down to sector settings, so first of all, there are some sort of presets. So you can say balanced focus, agricultural focus, industrial focus, research focus, financial focus. So for instance, I could do one of these things. I'm doing balanced right now because I'm not quite sure what I want to do. I might even consider going for mineral focus, but that might cause a bit of upheaval. So I'll maybe leave that aside. Thanks, Endor. Endors has been saying this since the first time he visited. Now you've got a bunch of tick marks. So military station, I think I'm going to enable the construction of military stations now because in the end they have enough to manage things on their own. There's space construction. So in this case, they will create construction ships. I know there's one waving by. You look for the blue. Oh, there we go. So this is an AI created construction ship that is building its own. This is the construction ship. This is the mining station. So it's busy building like mining and research stations on its own. This thing looks like a garage. Colonize. So I don't normally do this because I want a little bit of control in terms of how they manage things. But you'll notice that at Laba, is in the sector, so they would be able to build a colonization ship and put another system under their control. I think I might enable that for them now because it's like I have too much on my plate. Oh, actually, that's already enabled. Respect tile resources. So this is probably addresses one of the other questions that you had, which was, okay, so like, is the AI just gonna run away and it's like, I've got 3 food on some tile and then they're gonna turn it into like a military academy or something like that? You don't need to worry about that. If you click on respect tile resources, it says respect tile resources when adding building constructions. So if it's got energy on that tile, then they're gonna build like an energy improvement, so on and so forth. Redevelopment. So this is saying, all right, you know, you've got a big cool new thing that you didn't own before. Am I allowed to replace that? This is pretty important on, I can't remember what planet it was, maybe Vega? I don't remember what planet it was, but basically I finally researched xenozoos, which was something that I didn't have access to before. And because I enabled redevelopment, the AI has automatically switched to it because it's a better building overall. So in that case, you're allowed to, redevelopment is what will give the AI a little bit more ability to sort of mess with your initial designs. And then finally build robots. I like this because, of course, so much of my population are robots. I think they're really cool to have. But obviously, if you if you don't want the AI messing with some of your decisions, feel free to like turn off some of these options inside here. But I will say, I believe it's if you go on the Paradox forums, I think he goes by Wiz, but kind of one of the leads on the project, Martin Anward, I believe he personally handles the sector management, and he's pretty solid. So my complaint has been that I did not understand sectors for way too long. My problem was more between the keyboard and the chair rather than the game itself. Now, in terms of my decisions, this is not related to sectors, by the way, so feel free to ask more questions if you'd like. So what next thing I'm going to be doing here is I'm looking at what my lowest level in terms of improvements are in terms of research, and it's society. So I'm going to build a biolab here. Oh, don't know if spaceports were AI locked like the planets. Does that mean they also don't upgrade spaceports? I'm not 100% clear on this jumping queue. I do notice that on TIOM it's still a level 3, but it may be that the AI has decided not to do this improvement. But you do get to mess with the spaceports. You do get to build your own things inside of them, and you can upgrade them. So it's not a major cost. The focus settings are really cool. If you change the focus from, say, credits to minerals, would they change the tiles on the planets? For example, if there was a blank tile and they created a power plant on it, would they scrap it and then build a mining station? Lastly, again, do sectors have their own planet caps like we do? Thanks again. No, it's totally fine, Jumping Q. I'm happy. I mean, at some point I'll unpause, but one of the things is like I'm doing a big planning section on my own systems. So I was going to be paused anyway. I don't have a problem like just stopping and answering these. I will admit, so one of the things about the sectors for me is that I usually use them to make sure that I don't need to do the thinking. So I haven't looked at a sector. Oh, by the way, this is an example of the AI changing the focus. So, I can't give you a definitive answer on the empty tile example. My suspicion is that so long as there were certain conditions met, so like if it could afford it and if it thought that it was generating too many energy credits, I think you would see it scrap some energy buildings in favor of minerals. Now, I don't think it's going to be like the Grand Old Duke of York, where like you just alternate between them and all of your resources are like spent marching the men up and down the hill. Like, I have a feeling that it's probably going to have some built-in inertia to make sure that it's not just leaping all over the place. But I suspect if like the blank tile would likely be the first one that it would change, yeah. I'm going to make a slight change to my sector settings as well. Actually, see, I was gonna send off Orib, but I think it would make sense for me to colonize. I'm gonna manually take care of the colonization of all these other ones. I also have a faction that would like me to build a frontier outpost, but I don't see a lot of reasons to do that right now. All right, so my capital's taken care of for now. Let's see. Again, because I was ignoring my planetary needs, I kind of screwed up my population distribution. So we'll build hydroponics plant here. We'll build, can't build Betharian, so we will upgrade our headquarters. Are we running any deficits on anything? Not really. So we've got 1, 2, 3 Mishar that I can get doing other things. Definitely want an Autothon monument. Let's do 2 power plants. I'm definitely going to build another droid. And then I kind of want to have... Oh, I have 4. Okay. Yeah, I should build another basic power plant then. And hopefully we'll have... we'll be able to build another... Oh, actually, you know what? Set that up for a droid. So I'm not going to build the improvements on these right now, just because it's going to take a while for these things to develop. But this is roughly the shape that I want the planet to be in, and then I'll just be able to take these Mishar and move them into other places. I am, however, going to, like I said, I'm going to prioritize mining, so I'm going to get those upgrades underway. I'm going to skip the others though. Okay, Ibaka is sort of where I want it to be. The challenge here is that these are all things that are really well worked by droids. And I'm running out of money. Okay, we'll switch this out. Running a food deficit, but I don't think it will be after the upgrades. I always kind of want an Autothon monument when I can. Makes more sense to have this guy working that tile. We're definitely going to need more farms, but this is a good mining tile, so. Oh, and I'm out of money. Why do you use them instead of a regular pop? So the original reason jumping Q is so I think this is a really strong Civic, by the way. If you go under Mechanist for your Civic, now the drawback is that you're locked into it. So, I mean, one, I had a story reason for this. The reason why the title that I have here is called Space Communist is I had this idea. I kind of wanted, so like, I remember there's like the old stories, so this is like before Marx did his writing in that, but like the old kind of Robert Owen style socialism. And these people who, like, so one of the problems of like the earliest sort of socialist experiments, actually, somebody had a great line for this and said it was the space kibbutzes. But like basically what this would be is some of the old socialist experiments would be they'd kind of go out to the frontier and like they'd have this great idea of kind of making these utopian societies in the this new area, and everybody meant well, but the challenge is that like the kind of people who are going to be reading these books and thinking about this kind of society, like they're like me, they're very academic, they're very they're thinkers, not doers. And so the challenge that you have is that it's all well and good to sort of talk about the equal distribution of work and things like that. But in the end, like the work needs to get done. And generally that wasn't happening. So the thing I said is like, well, what if they were, that was a terrible explanation, by the way, but, I was like, what if we could take this seriously? Like, what if we said the only thing that was wrong with that society was that they didn't have a way of getting sort of the labor, the labor taken care of. And now that they've generated sort of robotics, they're capable of taking care of this. Now, a lot of people say, well, this is like post-scarcity science fiction. I haven't read the culture novels, so I can't really say with too much authority what's going on in terms of those kinds of themes. But the idea I basically just had here was like, so what if we took this, what if it turned out that they were right? And the only real drawback to their plan was that they just hadn't invented robots yet. Robots make the world go red. That's a really nice one, Endors. So one, there's a story reason for doing this. But number two, the advantage that it gave me was that in addition to waiting for natural population growth, I get the option of spending some energy credits to build a new population, which means that I'm going to have more hands that can work on resources. I'm going to be able to expand quickly. I'm going to be able to build up my industrial base faster. Now, the drawback is that normally robots are not very good at doing energy and science tiles. But we've upgraded. We're now using droids. And the trait of a droid, if I can find it, maybe I need to mouse over it. So they've got a habitability of 200%. So this means that if I wanted to, let's say, colonize... I'm running out of places that I can't colonize because I'm a cyborg species now. Okay, well, assuming that this tomb world wasn't claimed, I could actually get a droid on it, and I've got a couple of planets which are droid only. The next thing that I have here, so you'll notice here they've got some modifiers. So their engineering, physics, society, unity, and energy output are at -40, except for energy, which is -20. So they actually get better at doing energy the more you build them. But you'll notice here they get a plus to minerals. So the idea here is that, who do you want to send to the mine? Do you want to send the squishy Mishar, which oddly looks a lot like a human, or do you want to send like the droid? And presumably somewhere along the technology tree, there's probably another upgrade which will make these things even more like the primary species. If you're interested in that, by the way, especially if you like doing the story stuff, there is an equivalent to the Mechanist upgrade. Oh yeah, and the Mechanist gives you a -5 for robot maintenance, a -5% robots maintenance costs. So it's you get them at a discount basically. So the other thing that you can do, like let's say that you're not too cool with the idea of robots, or like maybe you're a spiritualist species or something like that. There's a version of this which says that you kind of dominated this this like unintelligent and underdeveloped species, and as a result you you wound up now you have like free slave labor. The reason I don't like those is that you can't control breeding. Like well, you can eventually, but like you're not China. Like you can't have the one-child policy. So in that case, I feel like you can wind up with the really good at physical labor but not very good at energy credit labor. The distribution of labor can sometimes be a little wild. So in this case, I like robots because I get to build them, and I like getting them early because it means that I'm able to spend resources to expand my population really quickly. The way I normally play games like this is I'm happy. I always consider the cost. So like, you know, do I upgrade my mine? Well, if I upgrade my mine, it costs me a certain amount and I get +1. Well, what if I build a mine on something where there doesn't exist? The mine costs 30 and I get like 2. So in this case, I get more minerals for a lower cost. So now, as far as traditions, so we're already going down the prosperity path. That was mostly to keep one of my factions happy, but this is a good one to have. The real question that I have is, do I want to go for the transstellar corporations? This will allow me to build private colony ships, which will cost energy credits to build rather than minerals. This is a very tempting one because I am going to be in a bit of an expansion mode. But the flip side would be the standard construction templates, and this gives me a reduction to ship costs and building costs. So those are negative 15%, and I am going to be rebuilding my navy for a while. Next thing, it moves me down the fleet logistics course, so that'll reduce my fleet upkeep by 10% and my building upkeep by 10%. On the flip side, if I want the pursuit of profit more quickly, which will allow my energy grids and energy nexuses to produce 2 unity, I might consider going down that path, but in the end I don't have a lot of these buildings, so I think the better call would be the one that will sort of save my upfront costs. So in this case, we're doing standard construction templates. As technology advances and becomes ever more complex, new demands are placed on our workforce. By using standardized construction templates, our workers can build things without necessarily having to understand the finer points. Which I also think is very consistent with this story about a society that wants to pass off as much of the labor as it can to automated processes. Bloodglade, you feel like you made a slight mistake with your money now. And hello, golden voiced angel. Well, I mean, Bloodglade, clearly all dollars and cents distributed towards this stream are wise decisions of expenses. Don't delay. Support today. What did you spend your money on? Does the blue mean that it's a vassal? It means it's a vassal or a sector. So in this case, you correctly identified I just vassalized these guys. They don't like me very much for it. But blue can also mean in... Where did they go? This one happens to be my... sector. So, sectors aren't exactly vassals, although the distinction is a fine one sometimes. And let's just get everybody to go back home. Hey, Blue Cops! You donated $100 to another stream. What stream was it? You can't donate. Ak isn't here, yeah. Defensive Pact, and wow, these guys are really wanting to be buddy-buddy for authoritarian militarists. We would not want to drag your people into conflict, slaving despots, but it's clear that we could benefit by joining together against possible threats. No thank you. Yeah, guys, I like to joke about the donations, but it is... As it says down below, always appreciated, never solicited. I guess I can't say never solicited because I am an ass about it, but obviously people were quite generous on the birthday stream, and I don't know whether or not it makes for a good VOD, but I do this for fun. I have a good job, so not necessarily a well-paying job, but a good job. So there are definitely other casters. If you're deciding between different casts and support and things like that, there are some people who do want to make a living doing this. And I can't tell, I mean, so that doesn't mean that somebody is more worth the money. I think the fact that you guys are thinking about supporting casters at all is a really good thing, because it's so easy to just assume that content falls out of the sky and there isn't a human cost to it. And I mean, I know I feel it, right? There's a lot of things that I want to do, and they're related to things that I'll be doing on cast eventually. And I know that when I hit the cast button, it's going to be, that's going to be time that's going to be spent not pursuing those things. But But yeah, the biggest thing is that it's hard to get people to pay for content. And that's, I mean, like Sam Harris, I know some people don't like him, but I think his podcast is very good. I think he's good at creating a forum in which people can speak honestly about an issue. And I think that's important. Whether or not the conclusions are ones that you want to support is another matter. But I think it's very good for public discourse to have an environment like that. And I think his conversion rate is something like 1% of the audience pays like any amount, even $1. And he actively solicits. He has been very careful in terms of just, saying what's at stake, why he thinks it should go for it. And he's gotten honest responses from people. It's like, I just don't pay for content. So, again, the decision on how to spend your dollar is a tough one. A great example I can give you actually is if you look at Jessie Quill. She's partnered with Humble, so if you buy some of those bundles, you can actually use the slider, and 100% of that can go to her. That's what I normally do. This most recent bundle with the books, I put some of that to Médecins Sans Frontières, because that's a charity that I really do like. But it's nice now that there's a few different ways that you can support favorite casters through purchases that benefit you. So sometimes Humble Bundle can do that. If somebody has an affiliate link, and Amazon affiliate links are technically not to be used for support, but obviously if you are going to buy something through Amazon and you do use that affiliate link, that is a way that you can get revenue to your streamer. And again, you're already going to make the purchase. And then if they have like a storefront, so I know Steam doesn't have any affiliate status, but GOG does. That's the one that I'm with. Humble does. And I believe some casters also partner with ChronoGG. So you now have $40 in your account and 2 days off work. Bloodglade, may I recommend that you get accustomed to ramen noodles, just like student days. What do I think of reassembly? I'm not quite sure what you mean by that, Bloop Cop. Sorry, I should probably do a little more gameplay, but I'm not quite sure what does that refer to? Is that a technology of some kind? Greetings on behalf of the Curator Order. Is there something that you wanted? We would like aid on our research. For 4,000, yeah, we'll still be at 5, so we'll be above 3K, and that still gives us a nice cushion. Of course, we are prepared to offer you limited access to our extensive data links for a period of 10 standard years. This should provide a significant boost to the research efforts of your scientists. We will require compensation for this service, naturally, but I think you'll find that our prices are very reasonable. So before I do this, I want to see which of the curators is closer.
I would never want to belong to any club.
Blue Cops 13, thank you very much for the follow. Oh, it's a game. I don't believe I've heard of the game.
I would never want to belong
Leonidas 727.
like me to remember.
I'm surprised there were only 726 Leonidases before you, but welcome. Be sure to arrive with your shield or on it. Would you mind telling me what the game is about, Blue Cops? Or you can provide a link in chat. I can take a look at it from there as well. Obviously not on cast, but... Right, yeah, the Alpha Enclave is closer to me, so... and we get an opinion bonus. So, a wise choice that future generations of post-Mishars will no doubt laud you for. Alright, so while I'm at it, there's an important thing that you can do with your ships. So, make sure if they're sitting idle, you want to make sure that they are sitting on the planet. When they have that orbit icon, that means that they are excuse me.
Incoming transmission.
That means that they are they're not costing you as much. So there's a great improvement that I can make in terms of my my resource management, just by making sure that I have some fleets in orbit rather than wasting money. Okay, the Hofler League are guaranteeing the independence of the Han Moor. That's kind of interesting, because these guys I thought were friendly. The Spolzak Alliance of States, also known as the cutest damn starfish you've ever seen. Again, I get decreases to influence, and I'm feeling pretty strong on my own, so I don't really want to go into an agreement with them. And I've been neglecting my science ship, so I think one of them was looking through my new acquisition. And I think we are going to try and find some new colonization targets ourselves. So let's get these guys to do survey. So quality of life improvement, for those of you who don't know it, if you shift and right click, you can queue up a number of exploration options. It's pretty standard in any game. I can't really think of us. I think most people who play strategy tend to already know about this trick. But this is a way that you can avoid from going mad, although obviously I have automatic exploration enabled. So after I sort of look at my immediate options, I'm probably going to put that to bed and just do things on my own. All right, we've got an inactive building, so let's move this post Mishar over here. We'll get a droid working the food. Again, no major reason for doing that other than it allows me to sort of free up some resources for other productive activities. So again, if I can get Mishar working on physics, so much the better. Actually, what we'll do, we'll switch this out because I would like as many minerals being researched as I can. So that planet's more or less set. We are receiving transmission from the Independent Space Station of the Curator Lambda Enclave. They appear to have successfully translated our language. This, for those of you who have Stellaris and haven't downloaded the portraits yet, these are the anniversary portraits. They are very garish. Well met, explorers. You are speaking with the Curator Lambda Enclave. Perhaps you are already familiar with the tenets of our ancient order. Like our esteemed colleagues in the other Curator Enclaves, we are willing to trade, provided that you can meet our rates. All right.
System survey complete.
I'm going to be merging all of these into a big doom stack, but sometimes it takes a while. All right, so we've got some cash left over. So first thing I'll just take a look at is the capital, because again, the capital is not going to build itself, unfortunately. I don't believe I can build. Yeah, I can't do that yet. This is just from migration. There's really no way that I can fix that. We've got probably another strategic resource. Now I've got some decisions to make here. So the inexpensive ones would be, actually hull points is probably where I want to go. So I technically want both of these technologies, and they're quite inexpensive relative to my research. Yeah, I think we'll go for the mining first. This will also improve relations with one of my factions who want me to have five strategic resources. All right. Again, more guys coming into the home system, so we will stack them onto Oros. I do want to eventually upgrade the fleet designs, but that's not a priority right now. What I'll probably wind up doing is clearing out some of these Emerald Roamers. Well, basically all of these crystal ships. It's sort of nice, you know, I'll get that dealt with, and if I have to replace some of the ships, I mean, so be it. Like, I'll get the upgraded version when I rebuild it, which is an awful general way of looking at it, but war is hell. What can I say? All right. Decision time. I'm going to start building energy grids because I know eventually these are going to be generating some important resources for me. How are we? So we're -1 right now for food. We'll be pretty healthy after that, so I can afford to turn this into a mine. Again, where I can, I want to build... Wait a minute, why can't I... Oh, there it is. I kind of want to build the obvious things where I can. This one is less clear to me. I might spike the energy just so I can get the minerals. Expansive Coder, thank you very much for that follow. And Blue Cops tells me that Resembly is a game that in your space you make your own type of spaceships and you don't need to manage them, but you do need to do some stuff for the ship or it won't function. That seems interesting. I'll check it out. So is this something that I can find on Steam or GOG, or is this something that's sort of an independent that I have to go to a website for, like Aurora 4X or something?
Research complete.
All right, unemployed Pop. I think we'll just put him here because he'll be able to work that tile. Oh, he migrated. He must have really wanted to get off that planet. All right, new research alternatives. So that's going to give me pause. So Flash Coolant looks really great, but again, these are very expensive. So I'm trying to clear out the cheap stuff first. I think self-aware colony ships, I almost never build this, but I think this is a good call for me because I have so many colonization options at this point. I'm also going to adjust my priorities. So for instance, Marith has a specialty in computing. So even though I don't necessarily want it, I can make the most of my existing resources by doing this. I think I'm going to regret doing this, but... Alright, and I've got the droids working where I want them to, so we will build an Autothon monument. We will build... Oh, can't build an energy grid yet. And again, I'm debating on flipping this guy out in favor of putting another droid on mining, just because... I don't know. Money is, or I really do need to just build as much as I can. Also, we are finally in this glorious point where we're back in shape for our well, you know, it's inexpensive to upgrade the fleet, so I'll do that right now. I think I'll regret doing it. And then the transport fleet can land its armies on Oros, so I'm not paying for those either. All right, so we're building a colony ship right now. Realistically, what are we looking at? So we've got 23 destroyers, 76 corvettes. My messages are late, like in terms of what I'm reading. Usually Blue Cops, I finish a thought before I read chat, so I have a feeling that probably I'm reading things around the, or well, I'm probably getting them on time, but I'm usually slow to reply. Right. Okay, so decision time in terms of governors. So I think it makes sense to actually hire a governor here. My argument being that we're doing a lot of production, so army build speeds, leader lifespans. I mean, neither of them is really great, but okay, so I've got space for 158 more ships. So I can do 24 corvettes. 24 corvettes will just give me an even 100. I kind of like that idea. Yeah, I think I'll go up to 24 more corvettes and then we'll fill the rest in with destroyers. All right. So unfortunately we don't, so this is one thing to keep in mind if you guys didn't know this about the game. If you if you pick something, it redraws from the deck. So notice we don't get the option of picking another strategic resource. The question for me is, do I want to give myself more options with kind of going down another path of weapon? Or do I want to go for upgrades for my ship? So like plasteel armor's pretty cool, unless of course I go up against energy weapons, then it sucks. Or I can go for like the low-hanging fruit and just get something cheap like space torpedoes. If I do that, I should probably get fusion missiles. Yeah, why not? I don't really plan on using the missiles, but it's nice to have sort of the... I hate to say it, it's nice to have the variety, because if I can sort of maximize my... If I can maximize my... the diversity of my fleets, if I can change them around really quickly, then I'll be... if I can flip them around quickly enough, or if I sort of know what my enemy's gonna have, I can adapt. Now, there's very few situations where I've run into an enemy ship and it's like, oh, clearly what the answer here is missiles. But in reality, like what we're going to be coming up to next is we're going to be getting a few different ship chassis. So what I might wind up doing is like having corvettes and just filling them up with a bunch of kinetic weapons and just getting them to sort of swarm in the front. And then like there'll be some capital ships in the back, which will have like half missiles to hit them at range, and then maybe some beam weapons for diversity. And then Blue Cop says, funny thing I thought of YouTuber Lathland. He said in this game, as you can see, we're the good guys in my mind. Lathland shoots the enemy in the head. As you can see, we're the good guy. Space tortillas. Sorry, Endors. I think I missed the reference there. And research is complete. It is circumstance that dictates what is moral. Define the circumstances, and ethics is like clay in your hands. Sounds a lot like what Blue Cop said. All right. Synthetic thought patterns is really tempting because our release valve for our influence has been to put in edicts. But if we can increase the rate at which we do edicts, then we're better off. Ship upgrade cost is also a really tempting one, although I think we're going to have a more or less new fleet. So I think I can hold off on getting that for now. So I should either go for increased fleet capacity, or we can do fleet traditions. Fleet Academy is a very tempting one to get for my capital world. I think I'm going to go for that. I'm not ready yet to switch Marith into that society research. She's a specialist in both computing and military theory. But for this, I think I'm going to stay the course because, again, having colony ships is a good thing. And we're just going to hammer out as many corvettes as we can. I think I'm going to skip building any more spaceports for now until I hit my fleet cap. Then I'll reconsider. All right, that's not surprising that we're getting some inactive buildings, but I'm just going to flip out the composition where I can so that we can get the right people working the right tiles.
Ships upgraded.
Ah, fair enough. All right, the Jessenax say, let us end this meaningless rivalry. I think we had already removed the rivalry from them, so... All right, so we've got a colony ship. I'm going to pause just so we can decide. So, honestly, where I'm at right now with colony ships is I just want to be building as many as I can and just colonizing as much as I can. So... I think I'm most tempted to go on to Oreb just so I can secure that against any further sort of encroachment from the Hulfir League. The other one would be sort of... I mean, so the obvious choices for me right now would be Magram, Stenlar, or Oreb, just basically so I can fill in the gaps. Then the next one that I would consider, Waldor is tempting because we would be able to research a species. I'll most likely go there. I'd love to find something in Ilfor just because of the resource. Realistically, I think probably Uzun or Matsonia, with a slight preference towards Matsonia, because that'll put this Mestherum into my sphere of influence. It's not that Matsonia is really going to expand that on its own, but it's just the idea that that'll allow me to grab the most empty space, and then we can sort of fill things in to take that. I'm less worried about losing Dram, just because in the end it's in a corner of space that I sort of control. That's size 24, so that's actually a really tempting world. Size 13, size 14, yeah. And on Oreb, there's really only one empty spot. And science is going to be what we work on in the future, so I'm okay using that. And I think I will smack out another colony ship. So this is hey, no problem, Elsie. So we won I'll fill you in on what happened. So we won the war. We have now successfully vassalized the Royal Yanari domains. They kind of hate us. But fortunately, but they're loyal. Probably because they count as pathetic. The idea here, so it says, under the watchful eye of first citizen Isabella Fabrini, we hope to keep our society free of Xeno influences outside of Royal Yanari domains. So they don't want to do the migration treaty, but basically once we've had them for 100 years, we can integrate them into our society, which is good news for me. All right, so I'm going to slowly move these Nishar off of these food tiles and start putting them to work on these energy tiles. Have you heard of the Android faction mod for Stellaris? I have not, Blue Cops. I've been pretty mod free so far. The funny thing about it is, as much like I am a huge fan of the Paradox games, but I've always sort of played games like I've always explored the vanilla game before I've done any mods, and I know that's like anathema to the way Paradox does things. So I have a couple of Crusader Kings mods because I know that game very well. But I wanted to learn Stellaris a little bit better before I did any other mods. I take it that's one that you would recommend? Again, similar idea here. We're just upgrading. We're upgrading sort of obvious places where we can. It's not clear to me at all that I want to continue developing these food tiles, though. And we'll move you here. So how are we for food? -6. I'm going to build... So that's going to be -3. Upgrade that, so -2. Yeah, so I'm going to need at least one more farm. All right, fusion missiles were pretty quick to do, so tempting to do high-density munitions, but 5% energy weapon or kinetic weapon damage for 72 months of work is just not worth the trade-off. So I can do advanced mineral processing to give myself more access to mines. That seems like that is my best or it's either that or deep core mining. Those seem like they're my better option because of the additional production, but it actually winds up being one of the most expensive improvements that I can go for. I would be tempted to do Spaceport level 5, because that will obviously help me out with my military. But I think what we're going to do is we're going to clean out some of these simpler weapon ones. And what we're going to do is we're going to switch out some of the talent soon, I think. We'll keep him working on this, but I have a feeling once we'll see what's coming up next. Hey, Elvin23. So the Android mod, you don't need food if you choose, or you eat power energy. It's very cool and you do recommend it. All right, I'll definitely take a look. I've had a mod idea. I've got 2 mod ideas for Crusader Kings, although I have a feeling that probably Crusader Kings 3 will be out before I can develop any of them. And I have more of sort of a flavor kind of mod for Stellaris in mind, but it's not really sophisticated. It's more just it's something in the spirit of what I think Paradox is trying to do with this game, and they would never be able to get away with on their own. So it's one of these things where there's the plausible deniability of some modder making it, and that way people can opt in if they want or not. It has not been announced, Elvin23, and I don't have any private knowledge on that, but
System survey complete.
From what I know about the way the team is talking about the game, and so like in the background, what I would recommend is you listen to the talk that Heinrich Farias gave in terms of sort of the guts of Crusader Kings 2, or if you mod, just to see sort of how much is in there that was reflecting an old version of the game that they never wound up making. And the fact that like the mods have proliferated, and I think there are some decisions that they sort of wish they could undo, but they've made people pay for it in the form of DLC, so you just can't eliminate that. It's not to say Crusader Kings 2 is a bad game. It was my first and remains one of my favorite Paradox games. But I think out of all of the properties they have, it feels like Crusader Kings is the one that they could get sort of the most... I think it's the one they could kind of get the most mileage out of upgrading, if that makes sense. But yeah, I am purely speculating on this one. I certainly don't intend to... I don't intend to speak with anything even remotely approaching authority on that topic. I don't feel like I'm going to be doing Uplift recently, but it is cheaper. I also need to remember to read the flavor text. So allows genetically uplifting and socially integrating species which are close to being sentient. This should make things fun. What are we looking at here? So we're at 84. We've got how many in the... So we're at 89. So basically need 11 more of these things. I can probably... Oh, I forgot I was on pause. I can probably afford to speed things up a bit. And Orb will be finished pretty soon. Sufficiently advanced systems are capable of optimizing themselves if they were made acutely aware of the purpose for which they were made. All right. I don't think I've ever been this deep in the technology tree before, so I'm starting to have to think a little bit. Curator Exploration Lab seems like a really good option, especially relative to the cost of everything else. Because, like, Advanced Combat Roles is not bad, save for the fact that I'm really not... like, I don't plan on going to war anytime soon, so that's kind of blowing 30 months for nothing. Whereas I can spend 16 months and get something that'll improve my science, which is something I need right away. So Barrier point defense is tempting, but I don't know what enemies are using missiles, and I don't intend to find out anytime soon. As far as engineering, I think this is my best call. It's inexpensive, and it's sort of in line with my primary weapon. So I think we're just going to keep the status quo on our research, because this is a computer tech. It's been out the longest and still being updated tiles. Exactly, 11. It's also where, so like a lot of what I'm talking about too is sort of just reading the tea leaves. So if you consider they've announced at least one more DLC, but they haven't really talked about what the future looks like. That could mean anything, right? That's an argument for just about any position, any prior position somebody held. But it makes me feel like there's probably a little bit more. There's probably a little bit more to that story. And again, I'm happy either way, to be completely honest. Like I definitely don't think it needs to be. I don't think it needs to be upgraded. I can see that I think they would get the most mileage upgrading it for sure. I think you're less likely to see an upgrade for.
I would never want to
Oh, thank you very much for the follow, Elvin. I think you would be more likely to see an upgrade for, like, a proper sequel for Crusader Kings versus, say, Europa Universalis, because if you listen to the way, why can I not remember his name? Is it Johan Anderson who works on? I know he does like Europa Universalis, and he does Hearts of Iron 4. So Hearts of Iron 4 has obviously got its upgrade. Stellaris is a new property. I know they're also developing at least one, probably two new IPs. So I just think, and like if the guy who I'm thinking of is Johan Anderson, he's pretty clear that he does not see a reason to do a sequel to Europa, that there's simply enough to do with the existing DLC, which I think is a perfectly sensible position to have. Why did I do that? If I'm going to upgrade, I'll upgrade the one that's being worked on a tile 2. So, I mean, that doesn't leave us a whole lot of options in terms of where they're going to be putting their resources. Oh, I was also going to spend my... So I don't think it makes sense to have a lot of governors right now. What am I looking at as far as leaders are concerned? I can put 2 more in. Yeah, there's no major argument for me going for a governor right now, because I can just switch the ones I already have. On the other hand, I already have an admiral and a general, so what exactly am I going to be using it for? I could build another science ship. Let's make sure my edicts are where they need to be. I think the capital could probably... Yeah, capital should get a... Well, no, I don't even need capacity overload. I should probably get them to do production targets. Yeah, Alvin, and it's the one where I don't think they have sort of these legacy problems like Crusader Kings. And I mean, so there's some things about the Paradox model that work really great. So, the fact that we've been able to get a fresh look at Crusader Kings 2 for 5 years, I think is fantastic, because I really enjoy that game. But it's worth keeping in mind that, there are just some points where it's like there's just no value in trying to twist yourself into knots, trying to resolve an issue that kind of existed from one conception of the game. It's nice that we get this support through the DLC, but at some point you are going to paint yourself into a corner, and it's maybe not so easy to get out. So, like I said, I mean, I still play Crusader Kings 2, and even if they were not to do any DLC for it, I would likely continue. I would likely continue playing it. But like I said, it's just one of these. Just one of these hunches. It feels like the most appropriate next step for them is to put just kind of build the Crusader. Now that they've got the sequel, like they've learned so much in terms of Stellaris and and Hearts of Iron 4, like in terms of like showing people how to play the game. I think the saying for Crusader Kings 2 is that it's hard to learn and easy to master. So if you just think about how, if you just sort of think about the way people have been thinking about the game, it just seems like that's one where they get to say, it's like, okay, it's year zero. We're gonna come up with some new ways of working on this, and I'm excited for that prospect. Like I think that's absolutely the right way to deal with the property. How do I feel about Hearts of Iron 4 and the direction they're going? So I never played Hearts of Iron 3, Elvin. So I know that Hearts of Iron seems to have had the most teething trouble out of all of the new games. I think it's also one that's benefited a lot from its modding community. So I think the percentage of new games that are starting that are running Kaiserreich it's some like absurd proportion of the player base. So it's worth mentioning. So, I mean, obviously Paradox had a bit of a controversy in terms of like its pricing decision during the Steam sale, and DLC is never a popular thing to talk about. So it's maybe worth mentioning at this point that I was given a copy of Stellaris and Utopia Leviathans, and I was given a copy of Hearts of Iron 4. So I can't say that I don't have some vested interests in this company, and at least insofar as they've given me games. But then on the other hand, I also think most of you know me well enough now that my reputation cannot be bought for like what, a $40, $50 computer game. So some things I'll say for myself. To Elvin's point, like Hearts of Iron 3's original tutorial and just looking at everything was so like it was very unappealing. Like, that's not to say it was a bad game, but like you needed to put a lot. I've not played Sins of a Solar Empire, Jumping Q. And sorry, I know I'm ignoring all the weather stuff, but I'm trying to come up with a nuanced view on Hearts of Iron. So like it was one where you had to have a fairly strong stomach, I'd say, to want to like pick it up. That's not exclusive to that title, obviously. Like there are definitely other Paradox games that count for that. So in terms of accessibility and in terms of visuals, I think Hearts of Iron 4 is a very good looking game, and I think they did a really nice job of simplifying it. I think there's two things that they ran into with problems. Number one, they made this like DLC offer at the start where like you'd get the deluxe version of the game. Oh yeah, I think we said we were going to go and stomp some crystals, so. This is gonna be a disaster. God, I'm not sure if I want to. I think I'm going to save that for later. Because if they all jump on top of me, I am going to be in a world of hurt. These things are easy to punch though. Anyways, so yeah, Hearts of Iron 4. Actually, no. You know what? Let's just simmer down. Let's wait till our whole fleet's done. Oh, are they? Probably. I do upgrade them. So this is one thing. Where was it? Yeah, the plasma thrusters. It's very easy to forget to upgrade your science ships, but the sensor range and the engine speed can be helpful. I'm really tempted, by the way, to build like a fleet of science ships that do improved that do assistance. I think I'm just gonna go for the inexpensive stuff. Also, that big fleet you just put aside, you defeated exactly one of those with about 10k. Oh wow, that's really cool. Yeah, I'm not very good at the combat in this game, I'll admit. Part of it is because I've not really been managing the rock, paper, scissors element that well. I also know whenever I like cast, I'm a little more focused on like talking with people and interacting on the topics. Like I will eventually get back to Hearts of Iron 4. Alright, I need a minute to decide what I'm doing here. I mean, cloning is kind of tempting. It is the least expensive. Yeah, we'll go for that. We won't, like, invest anybody super important into it, but... You made a 100k fleet with an army of weakness. Well, I'm told that Corvette spam is like the way to go in this game because they're in... like, apparently their evasion's very good. Following a long period of growing support for the military-industrial complex, the Ox-Braxel Blessed Covenant has finally embraced the faction, adopting their core values as policies. As a result of bringing this faction into their government, they have become more militaristic.
System survey.
I wonder if it's possible to... So we can become like super egalitarian. I mean, that wouldn't be terrible. Definitely do not want to be pacifist. It's not obvious to me that I want to be militarist either. But yeah, I could definitely see... So it will displease the other factions though, so we're gonna hold off. Anyways, yeah, so let me see if I can put a pin on the put a pin in the Hearts of Iron thing. So I think one of the biggest problems I ran into was no active sensor links. They had this DLC thing where it's like, you know, you pay for the Field Marshal edition and you get like the first 3 DLC that come out. And it's clear that when the game was released, it wasn't what people were expecting, right? That doesn't mean it was a good game, like a bad game, or like it was secretly a good game and people, you know, just didn't appreciate it properly. Like, it's up to people to experience and judge for themselves whether or not the the product is worth it. But one of the things that they ran into, of course, is that they've now made a commitment saying is like, okay, well, we need to improve this game in some ways. Like the air combat's a great example. But what they've done now, of course, is they've got this strategy which says that you get the first 3 DLC as part of this Grand Marshal edition. And, you know, you like... it's obviously not something like you now are making some decisions that aren't necessarily about what's best for the game. It's, you also have to think like what are people going to think. And I mean, they did the right call. Like they added another DLC to that offer, so that people didn't feel cheated from from what they wound up getting, like Together for Victory and Death or Dishonor, and then I guess I feel like I'm missing one. But anyways, so obviously they went for like small, little incremental DLCs rather than these big ones like Utopia. And I think that was what the series needed. Or not the series, but like I think that's what the game needed in order to make it what people were expecting. But that comes at the cost, of course, that people are going to be disappointed. They're going to feel like they didn't sort of get what they signed up for. So it definitely, look, I don't envy Paradox's job to try and keep the community happy on that. I've generally been happy with, I've generally been pretty happy with the way these things have worked out in the past. I'm liking Hearts of Iron 4 the more I play it, but it could also be that I'm getting just more familiar with that title overall, whereas I wasn't familiar with it at all. But I'll be honest, like, I do think Hearts of Iron is the one that needs the most work. Like, Stellaris, in my view, is one that is fun to play out of the box, and I can recommend pretty much wholeheartedly to friends. I can definitely say that for Crusader Kings and Europa Universalis. I can say that I've enjoyed the last couple of bits of DLC for them. Obviously, Third Rome was a little narrow in its focus, but it was priced accordingly, so, like, I'm not too upset with that. But Hearts of Iron 4, in my view, is the one that requires a little bit of, requires a little bit of effort to sell people on, in my view. System Shock, do you know Hivemind? Yeah, I did a quick, like, little just private playthrough of a Hivemind. It was fun, and I know that's getting some love in the terms of new audio files on the upcoming version. Last question: do you run any mods here, or this vanilla? This is every mod you can get for the game, Jumping Q. So this would be Utopia, Leviathans, and the Plantoids species pack. And of course, for free, you also get the Horizon Signal, which, if you haven't encountered, definitely give it a look. It's written by Alexis Kennedy, who did Fallen London and Sunless Sea, and there's a Dragon Age property he worked on, but I can't remember. I can't remember offhand which one it was.
Research complete.
I also need to find a job for this person. I wonder if I can build a... No, I can't build a droid here. I feel like energy... No, science should be where we go with this. Okay. Aren't Utopia and the other ones the DLCs? Oh, my God, Jumping Q. Sorry, I am up too late. Yes, you are absolutely right. Those are the DLCs. I am not running any mods. I am an idiot. The Mishar people should not be prisoners in the Mishar Cooperative, and neither should our own people be limited to inhabit our territory. Let us agree to remedy this. Let's just take a quick look at what they are. Alright, so they've got an arid preference. That's good for me because I can't colonize those. I don't know if there's anything I can find out about the... I don't know if there's anything I can find out about the... the starfish, though. Yeah, you know what? I'll agree to that. Our last migration treaty didn't actually give me anything, but... All right. So the strategy that we had, sort of just clearing out all the stuff that we like kind of clearing out the fuzz, all the things that we've been ignoring. It's kind of paying off now. I could go for quantum missiles, but again, it's unlikely I'm going to be using these. There might be an argument for engineering facilities, because I have a feeling I'm going to need to sort of put some pressure behind my... Yeah, actually, I think that's the better call. I should probably be investing on that. I'm also going to try something a little batty, but I want to see if this works. So I'm going to try and build a science ship on all of my planets. And see if I can get them to do research. How are we? Alright, so we're at 165. Got our 100 corvettes. So right now we're working on 4 destroyers, that's 8, so that'll put me to 154. So I can build 5 more destroyers and another corvette. How much money have I sunk into Paradox titles? Well, so I got, I think, Crusader Kings in a Humble Bundle. I probably spent the most on Europa Universalis. My last 2 Crusader Kings mods I was given from Paradox. All of the Stellaris stuff except Plantoids I was given by Paradox. The thing that's tough for me to say on this Elven 2, my own money I've actually spent relatively little. I see your thing on the researcher, by the way. I've got a couple of spaces open, so I probably should have spoken a little more clearly on that. So my 2, because I don't see any point in adding additional governors. And then somewhere along the line I'll figure out what's producing the most science. But also before I was given those keys, which obviously I'm very grateful for, a lot of viewers would tend to donate. So my view always was I would sort of wait until they went on sale. And a lot of viewers really liked seeing the latest content and either hearing it like explained or, you know, just the normal things that people like about streams, right? So as it happens, like even then, the majority of DLC that I ultimately didn't pay for. I'm still not entirely sure like it's the best deal for me because it's obviously that's a very poor hourly rate. But I'm obviously very grateful for the support. So yeah, I mean I'll admit I've spent much less than most on Paradox stuff. Interesting. So we can only do one research deal at a time. I can live with that. But I do have a lot of energy to spend. I also think I should start sort of spinning off some of these. Several xenoanthropologists from Oros have returned to the surface of Trappist Secundus after spending a great deal of time living amongst the subterranean aliens native to that world. They have learned much about their ancient ways and customs, which no doubt will benefit our society research. Excellent. All right, let's take a quick look at our research output. So Oros is the obvious first candidate.
System survey complete.
We're receiving a transmission from the independent space station of the Artisan Troop. They appear to have successfully translated our language. A visitor! This is a joyous occasion indeed. Oh, forgive my manners, I believe introductions are in order. We are the Artisan Troupe. Our members have dedicated their lives to the pursuit of art, music, culture, and all other things which makes existence bearable to a sentient being. Please, if you'd like to share in the wonder of our creations, do not hesitate to contact us. So I'm a bit flush with cash now, so it's a little tempting to do that, but... Wish I had a better science candidate than Doria Prime, but I'll have to live with it. What do you mean in terms of not taking advantage of every resource? Like, are you talking about the undeveloped tiles that I have? I'm doing those as they come up. So, like, if you're talking about things like this, I'm not entirely sure I'm going to need the additional food. If you're talking about these white areas, it's just because I have a construction ship that's doing the work. So I'm spacing it out over time. Curator archaeology. Oh. I don't think I've ever seen a red one before. Dangerous technology. If you can make your own faction in the game, would you be good and not attack anyone, or greedy and attack for just more planets? Well, Blue Cops, I've always enjoyed sort of playing the game with a theme in mind. So in this case, I've played, so here's actually an important point, right? So the basic ideas driving this species, right? So I said we had the original experiments in socialism, and saying, you know, what if the only real problem that these people had was the fact that they just didn't have the technology to implement their vision? That, you know, it's fine to take a bunch of intellectuals out into the wilderness, but those intellects had better find a way of you know, getting the work done. And speaking as somebody who is a bit more academic in temperament, I am not very good at physical labor. Now, there's a few different ways that you can go down that path, right? In this case, we are, you know, fanatic material. So, I mean, if you want to take like the communist idea, like take the materialist view of history and such, kind of, you want to, you know, probably the parts of Marxism that have survived to today. I don't think there's a lot of people who are talking about, you know, violently seizing the means of production or something like that. And in this case, I decided to do like nice communism, right? So in this case, this would be egalitarian sentiments. Now, the important thing is that egalitarianism and materialism do not immediately imply pacifism. You know, and I mean, this war here was purely one of conquest. We have decided to get along with these ones because they believe the same as us. And so the way I'd probably justify conflict with these guys or anybody else in this playthrough would be a war of ideology. That, you know, we believe that people have these rights to equality, that people have these rights to a certain sort of lifestyle, and that societies that are not willing to grant it, we will, quote unquote, liberate them, right? Or you could also sort of say that, you know, if they're in the way of progress, you know, we're now cyborgs. I don't see a whole lot of other cyborgs in the world, so, you know, we need to enlighten them, and if they don't come willingly, we will, you know, we'll drag them kicking and screaming. And the other thing too, if you want to tell maybe a little bit of a darker story along the lines of sort of the revolution betrayed, or what I think most people's image of communism would be, which is sort of, well, the workers aren't doing this good job of rising up. Of course, in this story, they don't need to. So we'll do the revolution for them, where you get sort of like a Lenin figure. Again, that could leave the door open for a lot of things. That could be, your did I make one too many science ships? I don't think so. But yeah, in that particular story, you could say, all right, maybe we want to go down the path of a a more aggressive kind of policy. So, this is just a really verbose way of saying, like, there's I usually try to allow, so the emergent stories are what make any Paradox game fun to play. And I think, there was a really interesting post in the forum saying, is like, I want to make a species that is built around the Horizon Signal event. Now, in one sense, I think that's really cool. And I think you can, just go into the console and trigger the event and you have what you need. But I also think you can, like, you're limiting yourself if you say, okay, this is the specific story I want to tell. Like, it is a game, and the game's not going to roll over and let you just do what you want. It's not a fun game if it lets you do that. So I've never really thought of how, like, whenever I play a game like this, I don't sit down and say, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. I usually think along the lines of themes. And I think... Crusader Kings 2 is probably the best example of that most recently, because I sort of started off saying that I wanted to play sort of this succession of Satanists who would take over the Holy Roman Empire. And it turns out that it was a little more appropriate to embrace the Waldensian heresy for a bit. And it was a perfectly enjoyable playthrough, despite the fact that it went in a slightly different direction from what I was planning.
Research complete.
All beings have equal rights to be conquered. Yeah, well, the Horizon say... Elvin, have you ever played Sunless Sea, or have you ever played anything else that's written by Alexis Kennedy, out of curiosity? This is mildly tempting now that I know I can get additional researchers working on science ships, but I don't think that's the best choice, because I don't have a lot of I don't have a lot of people to actually do. Okay, I think I'm actually going to do Doctrine Fleet support for some very idiosyncratic reasons. All right. I should also say, guys, I hate to do this because I am enjoying it, and there's definitely some new faces in here. I got a little bit of a later start. Normally I do about 4 hours of casting. We're almost halfway through the third hour. I might have to cut this a little short. I'm also saying this because I think we're at not a bad time to just, like, start the next game. Kind of start the next game with, like, a really clear direction in terms of where we're going next. I think I'm going to hold off one thing reason I'm going to hold off developing this is we've got an election, so it's going to give me an easy win on the election promise. You played the game for a few days because that's how long it was free. You played it for a free... Oh, I didn't know they went on a free weekend. Yeah, the only reason I mention it is Alexis Kennedy has, in my view, a fairly recognizable and a very interesting style. And he So he founded the company Fail Better with Paul Arendt, who I think mostly does art. They made probably the only web game that I've really enjoyed playing, called Fallen London. That eventually became Sunless Sea, which was kickstarted. And then they did a DLC called Submariner. And now they have kickstarted the sequel, Sunless Skies, but he has left. I believe it's it wasn't a bad split or anything like that, but he seems like one of these really fascinating. Like, I wish I had this ability, but like one of these people who just can create and like, obviously I can't speak for the man, and I don't intend to. But when he says he has the entrepreneurial bug, like, I think he's one of these people who's like really gets a charge out of being in like the growth stages of companies. So one of the side projects he worked on while he was walking the earth like Jules, to use his term from Pulp Fiction, he did this. He's opening a studio called The Weather Factory. He's making a really interesting game called Cultist Simulator, which, if you guys haven't checked it out, go maybe a Google search for Cultist Simulator or weatherfactory.biz. His blog is really interesting to read too. But yeah, the Horizon Signal was just I think he did a great job of showing what you can accomplish in the Clausewitz engine, with something that is an interesting story that gives you lots of different branches, but doesn't force you to sort of adapt to a... so the idea here is it's very much Alexis Kennedy's story, but it's up to you to decide where your species goes through it. I'm trying to speak as generally as I can for the people who haven't experienced it, but if you have not experienced the Horizon Signal event, definitely try and check it out. He's basically a very good DM. Yeah. And like I said, there's just something about people with that kind of talent that is really, it fascinates me. Like, I wish I had that capacity. One of the biggest problems I run into, so I'm certainly not short on ideas, and yet I made one too many of these, didn't I? Yeah. One of the biggest problems I've run into, when I worked in film, this wasn't as big of a problem, because in some ways, like, I had the union to help me with this negotiation, but I don't really know how to price myself. Like, the job that I have isn't really so much for the money as it is this idea of public service, which I realize sounds kind of quaint, but like that is a major motivator for the decision that I made. I hate to do this because it's not a droid, but slightly better distribution of labor. All right. So where's Doria Prime? Whew. Okay. It's gonna be a bit of a roundabout way of getting there, but. And you know what? Let's gobble up everything that doesn't look like a it doesn't look like a colonizable planet. So the plan is eventually the sector will absorb all of this, but this is going to free up some is going to free up some resources for me to colonize more. So what do I do other than this? You mean in terms of streaming? So we just got through probably an unexpected playthrough, but I finished the third Assassin's Creed game, or Assassin's Creed 3, and I really enjoyed it. It was that was for July 4th, and then because for Bastille Day, we also did a cast, and in that case, it was Unity, which I realize is not everybody's favorite, but it's keeping with the holiday, right? So. But generally, I'd say I'm a variety caster. I do have an inclination towards strategy. That's just kind of I think the way I'm wired. But in terms of games, I gravitate towards indies probably more so because I just think they usually have an interesting take that allows me to bring something original. Now, with that in mind, like, that's not a monopoly. I don't think indies have a monopoly on good ideas. So, for instance, when Battlefield 1 came out, a really nice caster, actually, if you guys aren't, I know a lot of you are regular viewers, so I think you'll probably be following him already, but he casts every once in a while called Frantic Whisper. He was kind enough to hook me up with a copy of Battlefield 1. I really enjoyed the short stories in that game. So in that sense, that was another example of like a AAA game, but we got to talk a lot about World War I and how it's kind of I guess misunderstood war is the way to look at it. I'm also thinking I might not want to give up these mining stations just because I'm certainly not short on energy credits, but I am short on minerals. But yeah, I don't know. Heavy strategy line. I think any game that allows me to sort of talk about ideas, but there's a really broad definition for that. So Wolfenstein: The New Order is a hell of an action game, but clearly if you've read science fiction like The Man in the High Castle, or if you just kind of like counterfactual history, I think most people who like Paradox games tend to do that. That's an interesting game which is about more than just shooting Nazis. In terms of the games that I play, I'm all over the map on that one. So I mean, everything that we've played in the past has been small games like Titan Souls, Gods Will Be Watching, Sunless Sea. Sunless Sea isn't really a small game. Then we do a lot of grand strategy. So Monday is dedicated grand strategy. So that'll be one of the... I usually cycle between Hearts of Iron 4, Crusader Kings 2, and Stellaris. I did do Europa Universalis 4 in the past, and I really like the game, but the catch is that... there is a tendency for... There's a guy who I think has a name as a Hearts of, or as a EU forecaster, and basically they just took the opportunity to backseat and self-promote, which was not very fun for me. So I haven't really returned to it. But yeah, in terms of strategy, I also like Off-World Trading Company. But again, like, just because my view has always been that as long as the story or the ideas of the game give me something to explore, I'm usually interested in picking it up. And then for some of the other activities that I've done on the GOG.com streaming channel, I did do a guest stream of Sid Meier's Alpha Centauri, which is one of my favorites. Oh yeah, Elvin, actually, because you say a Paradox fan too, if you're a fan of the publisher, we've also done Tyranny. And I'll probably be returning to that before too long. All right, guys. I am starting to lose steam a little bit. If you're some of the reasons I've been doing these extended pauses is just I'm trying to concentrate. But I had an early morning and I need to go to bed. So I'm going to finish this event. I'm going to wish you all a good night. I'm sorry for ending about a half an hour early. But I don't know if I'll be able to do another Stellaris stream this week, but definitely next week I'll make sure that I start on time, and we'll make sure we plow through some gameplay. The other nice thing is it'll give me a chance to sort of think a bit about what I'm going to do with this sort of Swiss cheese of sectors, and try and put a pin in things. Once again, Matsona Prime has been pummeled by falling asteroids, and this time part of the colony has been destroyed. Needless to say, the local population is not happy. All right, well, I think this is the droid planet, so I'm not crap. All right. So you can say they knew the risks and a building is ruined, or something must be done. Yeah, we'll do.
Ruined. Situation log updated.
Oh, that sucks. One, two. Yeah, this is going to take a bit to... Oh, no, repair. There we go. Next... Okay, so I lied. Oh, Cringy Cat, we're actually just finishing up. I'm sorry. I'll do my research stuff. How have you been? I know when last we talked, you basically kind of finished and maybe is an understatement school. But how have you been? I'm sorry, I'm not going to get much of a chance to talk with you. Have you been streaming lately? I don't think I've seen you online. As extrasolar expeditions become more common, it is important to provide planet-side relief for returning fleets. So I think what I'm going to do, my capital is going to store that. No, sorry, my capital is going to build the ships, and then I'm going to have another sort of parking space. Okay, I would really like to do Galactic Administration, but it's expensive. I think I'll do combat training and then maybe Frontier Health if I get something like this again. Nothing to be done with. Yeah, we gotta wait. We can at least do this society research. I don't think I can build the zoo yet. Nope. Hopefully that'll work. Yeah, they can work with that. It's okay, you just woke up because of his straight-edge snoring. Be sure to kick him at least once for me. You're good, you should stream, but you play Overwatch all day instead. All right, sounds good. You're also looking for a job, but it's pretty tough. Yeah, it's especially when you're just out of school. There's going to be a period where it feels like it's like you're never going to get a job again. But I can tell you from experience that you will get through it. And I think one of the ironies of this whole thing, Cringy Cat, was that is one of the reasons I wound up going back to school. I started off in film, then I left that. Had a brief period of unemployment. Then when I started working, I realized how much I liked academics and wound up going back to school. I've been all right, Cringy Cat. I'm really tired though, so I'm going to be wrapping up the stream for tonight. I will do a quick host for people, but just to recap too, because we had some really great people in here and some people who are new. Again, I don't have a ton of experience in Stellaris relative to some of the other games that I play. But a couple of other things that I wanted to talk about in terms of getting into the game and places to look, because obviously if you don't want to look like in the VODs and things like that, or if you have something particular to your situation, sometimes somebody else's solution is not the best one. So, and Elsie, I know you wound up, I know you got delayed in coming in here, so I hope it wasn't too confusing in terms of what you what you had to watch. But a couple things that I'll recommend. So number one, there is something to be said for getting your hands dirty. If you're new to Stellaris, this is probably one of the friendliest Paradox games that you can get into. It does have a built-in tutorial. It's the first one that I think they have like an audio recorded here all the time. Well, Runebroder, the good news is I'm wrapping up tonight, so you don't need to worry about it. But I appreciate the support nonetheless. So yeah, so I mean they put the time, they put the money into building up a tutorial. It's not a bad one to get you started on. One of the ways that I start a given game is I go through my outliner, so I look at all of my planets and I make sure I'm building something on each of them. Now I've got all the upgrades that I can on my capital planet, so I'm happy there. Wait, is that one rest? No, it's not. So once I've sort of made sure that all of my planets are taken care of, then maybe I'll make sure I'm working on my spaceports, or I'll make sure that my construction ship. Basically, ideally, there's always going to be something built, or there's going to be something growing. Next up, I try to make sure that my naval capacity is at the maximum, and that is as much of a preventative measure as it is an offensive measure, although clearly we were able to vassalize our neighbor to the north. I don't think we're going to be able to get away doing that with any of the other ones. Yeah, so we can't offer them protectorate, and I'm pretty sure the whole fear do not want to be vassalized. Oh, that's funny, Elvin, because like in my own case, I almost always play this Paradox games single player. But then, I mean, that's also like my style is obviously to pause and think my way through. Even if I'm not streaming, like I'll usually pause and think about what the next few steps are, and I would never want to make somebody experience that. But yeah, so other than the tutorial, I think most people know about this, but if you go down to the bottom right-hand corner, I'm playing the Bradbury patch, which this still says friends rather than the wiki. But there is a built-in wiki. Unfortunately, because I'm in streaming mode, my mouse is offset a little bit. But there's a beginner's guide. I would say this is not as good as the tutorial. I think the tutorial is a little bit friendlier to getting you started off. But one of the best things that you can do to help yourself learn is, again, narrow it down, right? So like I said, I just go through my outliner. It says, okay, I got some planets to look at. Let's make sure there's things being built. Is my fleet at its cap? Am I okay with it not being at the cap? Is my construction ship building something? Are my science ships occupied? Speaking of which, let me just double check leaders. Yeah, I'm maxed out on those. These other ones I don't need to worry so much about, although clearly I did decide to to make some of my policy decisions based around what my factions looked like. But yeah, if you have a specific question, like, okay, I seem to have put like a bunch of my units, into an enemy sector, and they had, 5,000 power, and my enemy had like 4,500, and yet here I am with no fleet. Why did they beat me? Well, again, start with the broadest statement of your problem and then narrow it down. So in this case, you would want to go under diplomacy, warfare being a tool of diplomacy, apparently. And, you can get an overview of warfare. Space warfare is probably specifically what you're looking for, but you just go from the broadest topic that you can, narrow it down to your specific thing. So it's like, okay, why am I losing combat? That's a big question. Why am I losing combat when I have lasers and my enemies have shields? Well, turns out that shields are sort of the dominant strategy when going after lasers. Or maybe they're using like missiles and they're getting you at range, although I know people don't really like missiles nowadays. But yeah, like the idea here is that you're only ever going to learn parts of the game by encountering problems. I would recommend so I usually do Iron Man on stream because I think it's kind of dumb to, yeah, just in the question mark. If you're on the Bradbury patch, it'll say friends. If you're on the main patch for the game, like the non-beta one, then this'll say help. Obviously, if you want to watch YouTube, you can do that as well. But but yeah, that's what I would encourage you to do. Like in the end, these games, Paradox makes games that you will put a lot of time into, and the condition for enjoying a game like this is that you are willing to put that time in to enjoy it. So that means that if you, how do I put this? If you want something that you can pick up and play for 15 minutes, I would not recommend getting into Stellaris. But if you're willing to learn new things about the game, even after playing it for a year, because of course they also add things in patches, even if you don't wind up buying the DLC, then there's a lot that's really rewarding. And I think the best way to approach the questions of the game, and I think the best way to learn it, is to have experiences, have the game beat you. Especially if you're new, don't worry about playing on Iron Man mode. Like, have a save game, and it's like, oh, okay, my fleet just got steamrolled, so, you know, would a different weapon layout have helped? Well, I can't afford a different weapon layout. What would it have looked like if I, you know, went in, 10 years before when I was building that fleet? What could I have known about what that fleet looks like? And sometimes that's just a question like here, you know, take a look. For some reason I can't look at these ships. But like if something comes into your space, like we had somewhere here, there was definitely a case where we had a ship that we could look at. But when you look at ships, like just say, oh, it looks like these things have a bunch of missiles. I need to make sure that I build a fleet that's designed for dealing with missiles. And again, sometimes you don't learn these things until you experience them. So, and more importantly, if you have any questions, that is why I'm here. I'm happy to share this game with people, and I hope you guys enjoy it as much as I do. He only slept 4 hours? Well, Cringy Cat, when I had that problem, I would just sleep in the bathtub. But it's not the most comfortable sleep that you'll do. And it depends, Runebroder. I mean, I've had a couple of, like most Paradox games should be able to be played without hitting the pause button. But it depends on your temperament. Like I'm usually I'm slow, like, but that's also, it gives me a chance to talk, right? So, all right. I have got 2 recommendations for you tonight, guys. So obviously, if you guys are looking for more Stellaris, just click on the game title down below. I'm sure anybody else who's playing this game would appreciate the view. Kilgore Trout is currently playing Elder Scrolls Oblivion on the GOG.com channel. Now, I'm not going to host him just because he's currently on his break, and I don't know how long that break's going to be. So if you guys like Oblivion, twitch.tv/GOG.com. That was also the place where I did Alpha Centauri, so obviously I like that channel. But I have a friend of mine who he's streaming more regularly, but he's got a smaller audience, and he's playing a game I'm interested in called Antihero. So I am going to raid him tonight, and hopefully you guys have a good time. His name's Melee Mage. Normally when we do a raid, we have a raid message, "We're tired of System Talk, heard this place was better." Feel free to say that. He knows who I am. And as for the rest of you, I am back to my regular streaming schedule. So that means Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Likely not going to do Stellaris for the rest of the week, but you never know. If you want to know what the game is coming up, you can follow me on Twitter. I'll usually say it at least within an hour of playing it, what we're going to go for. If you just want to be surprised, follow the channel. And if you want notifications, you can enable them in the Twitch settings. As for me, I really need to get some sleep. So thank you for dealing with my monologues, and we will see you next time.